But my beats, they are hard.
All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to another Sunday night edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. It's me, Bryan Fulford, running solo for a little while. Tonight, AD Drew could not be here as AD Drew is on a court somewhere in America. So, Drew is doing what Drew does, He's part Jamaican, just in case you didn't know, in the summertime especially. But it'll be me for the first half hour, or I guess at this point, by the time I'm starting the show, probably about the next 20 minutes. And then I got some guests that'll be joining me, as it is talking season, media days galore coming up this upcoming week, as the CIAA and the Southwestern Athletic Conference both have their media days on Wednesday. I don't know what party planning these two conferences attend, but you would think, given that these conference commissioners talk to each other via the HBCU for Us consortium, that they would work together. I mean, again, there are only 4 football HBCU conferences. And so you would think that they would work together to say, let's make sure each of our conferences is highlighted on its own specific day. For the life of me, I don't know why the SWAC has routinely had their, football media days on a Wednesday, usually about the about third week in the middle of the month, third week in July. It's been like that for at least at least since conference expansion. And the CIAA is the one that's kind of been moving and fluctuating. So I don't know whether it was because of hotel or other reasons, but they're the ones that are going to be on a day that sort of links in similarly to the SWAC. So, and then next week, you've got the SIAC and the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, which are on separate days, I believe, maybe one day after the next. So there's no conflict there, to the best of my knowledge. But coming up at the bottom of the hour, Kris Ferguson comes back and joins the show. A good friend of the program, D2K Ferg, is where you can find him on Twitter, as I still like to call it. But you can find, Kris covers the CIAA. He's been doing it for as long as I've known him, for D2Football.com. He also does some work with Stephen Gaither of HBCU Game Day. So might even be covering it for Game Day as well. So, Kris, he's Mr. CIAA. And so we'll have him on the show and we can kind of talk about what's happening in the CIAA. And then at the top of hour 2, I've got good friend of the program, Kelvin Carter, who'll be joining the show. And we'll be talking largely about the SWAC. And, of course, he is an Alcornite. So, maybe getting a heavy dose of what Alcorn State looks like and might look like this upcoming year. And then at the bottom of hour 2, Mo Carter of Huntsville's Fox WHBX, I believe it is, in Huntsville, Alabama. Of course, that's the home territory of the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. But Mo, of course, you hear him doing a lot of work with the SWAC TV, broadcasting games throughout the year, football, basketball, and the like. So it'd be good to kind of catch up with Mo before I actually see him this weekend. So yes, gotta shout out to everybody in the chats early. Those of you who've already checked in: Emmett Jones, Jimmy Mack, SoFlo Rattler. Where is Perry White? Checking in. Good evening. And Emmett Jones. Yeah, Emmett Jones. And yeah, I think it is a good lineup. So I'm looking forward to talking with those guys, and maybe it kind of set the table here. Again, thank you everybody watching us on all of the platforms, the Black College Sports Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MyBCSN1. Of course, hello to everybody watching MyJBN Online on YouTube. You could also be watching us on our Black College, our BCSN SportsWrap. We have a Facebook and YouTube page there as well. Although, we created that, and sometimes I don't even know what to do with it. We just run it in duplicate, so I don't know. But anyway, exactly. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. However, and if you're one of those folks that feeling generous and you want to help contribute to the journey from Orlando to Birmingham, you could drop a Cash App, the $, MyJBN, MyBCSN. All funds donated today will help pay for gas and travel expenses getting from Orlando to Birmingham, Alabama, which is where I will be. And, of course, the Black College Sports Network, we're looking forward to – I got to check with the boss and find out how many years consecutive have we broadcast live. Let me see. This will be FAMU's 5th year or 6th year in the SWAC. Let me see. This will be FAMU's 5th year in the SWAC. And I think we've been doing about 6 years. I think we've been doing about 6 years of live coverage, along with all the other things that the SWAC does. But you can always come to the Black College Sports Network page and get about 5 to 6 hours of live coverage during the day with all of the various shows. I see Carlos Brown in the chat. Shout out, Carlos. Good to see you. Carlos will be there. Dr. Cavill, Charles Bishop will be there. I believe Mike Washington, he's a busy guy these days. Mike Washington should be there. AD Drew will be there. I'll be there. Kelvin Rozier will be there. The ONG will be there. So we look forward. And some of your other favorite media show, podcast hosts will all be in attendance as well. Appreciate Road Dogg checking in. Dr. Israel checking in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in and joining us. Okay, so I want to get to a few things before we bring on Kris. And again, for those of you checking in, Kris Ferguson at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about the CIAA Football Media Day. I got to put together a little info thing. One of the things I've been doing with my summer is I've been trying to expand my AI tools, trying to figure out how to use AI more productively, trying to figure out how to maybe not only create revenue streams for myself, creating content, using it for ways that are going to benefit. So I've got to, and actually, AI is one of those. I think, as someone who also teaches, it's a resource that I would encourage us all to learn more about, because it does have some benefits. I mean, there are, like with all things, there are security measures that you need to be aware of, that you need to put in place for yourself. And you have to be careful of over abuse and overuse. But that's with all things, right? Isn't that life in general? I mean, use it responsibly and it can benefit you. It's the irresponsible individuals that give it the bad name. So, yeah. So, I've got to put together a little AI thing on the CIAA. WSSU Ram Nation, definitely two different environments going on. SWAC Media Day. I have been told, speaking of SWAC Media Day, I have been told that I'm going to wait to get confirmation of this, but I've been told there's a record number of media requests for this year's football media days. And you thought we had a lot of media days in those 2 years where we had Coach Prime. Well, apparently, from what my sources told me, the numbers are as high or greater than when Coach Prime came that very first year. Now, I don't know if we're going to have any big name people like, I remember that first year we had Roland Martin. I was like, wow, Roland Martin is here to do SWAC, okay. But I know the number of media requests are high. Now, is that because of Marshall Faulk, who is the latest Pro Football Hall of Famer to become a head coach? Is it because there are more media outlets that are covering SWAC and HBCU football? I don't know. It'll be curious to kind of see what brought people here and how many new faces we see. But I'm told, like my man Steve said, SWAC is like a convention. Now, I'm one of those people that maintain the SWAC Media Day should probably be 2 days. I've been saying that because it is going to be hard to talk to all 12 coaches in that 1 day. And when I say 1 day, I'm really talking about 5 hours. They're coming to see T-Jack and PV. Well, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, you're really, if the event starts 10 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock Central, 11 Eastern, most of the coaches are looking to get out of there by 2. So when I tell you it's not even a full day, it is like a 4-hour sprint. And, you get in where you get in. We have never, in the Black College Sports Network history of doing this, we have never gotten all 12 coaches on our show. And that's crazy, right? We usually start sometime maybe an hour before the actual live presentation starts. We've never gotten all 12 coaches. And we do try, as someone said, try to keep the interview short. We try to keep the interview short. I mean, we probably try to get maybe about 10 minutes per group. And we bring in, we'll either have a coach and some players because we know their time is valuable. We don't want to, we're not doing whole episodes. I can't speak to what everybody else is doing out there. I've heard complaints in the past. But I know when we come to our set, and we will have a set, we're usually about a 10-minute time span. Because we understand we want to get them in and out, but we never get all 12. And I have to be honest, I got to go back and do my recollection here. There are certain schools which I don't think we have ever gotten. Now, I don't know, but I don't know what that says, but it is what it is. Yes, Steve says something. Yeah, I think everyone has to be considered. You should not be talking to a coach for more than 20 minutes. That should not be happening. I think respectfully, 10-minute window. 5 to 10-minute window. And you got to keep it moving, because if you're being honest, you're being respectful not only of that coach's time, but also of your fellow media members who are trying to get them as well. And I will say, I will definitely give praise to, there's a few schools who always wait to the end and get to us. Shout out to Travis Jerome and Jackson State. Florida A&M, obviously we have a close connection. So we usually, Dennis Driscoll, these last couple years, and even before him, excuse me, we would always get somebody from FAM. But even I remember how great it was last year getting, Jackson State, they waited for us. So, I mean, there are some SIDs who are familiar with us and are friendly. I would say we're more friendly with and towards than maybe others. And, you know, they always find their way to us. Dr. Gaville will be there. So, you know, some of that rubs off as well. But, you know, I know it's a busy season. So, but, and I do know that there are certain coaches who, you know, by the time lunch hits, by the time they get their lunch around 12, 1 o'clock, they're ready to go. I mean, so that's why I said that I can't imagine why this can't be a 2-day event, why you can't do I would say why you can't even do a morning and an afternoon session. You know, if you don't want to do a 2-day event, do one division in the morning, one division in the evening. Now, okay, so I'm going to get off that soap. Anyway, let me see. Y'all, we have a 10-man set. No, you know, okay, let me correct that. EA, we may have 10 people there, but we don't have 10 people talking to the coach. Usually we mix it up where we may have a show talk to a guest or a show plus one, right? So you may see Doc and me or Carlos and Drew. It'll never be like that. Come on now. We don't have 10 people that, come on. Not going to be like that. Anyway. All right. Well, let me get to the one big note before we get it again. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about the CIAA Football Media Day. But let's talk about the one piece of big news which happened this week, and it's the inaugural BCFP, the Black College Football Poll, which came out this past week. And Thursday, I believe, is when the BCFP came out. And let me see. Do I have my oh man, somebody moved my graphic. Let me see if this is it. There we go. Okay. So the inaugural BCFP came out on Thursday, July 9th. The preseason poll came out. And you can see the BCFP is the conglomerate of the agreement and the endorsement. Very key that it's the endorsed poll by all 4 major HBCU football conferences. So you have a mix of media members that cover the various programs within the SWAC, the MEAC, the CIAA, and the SIAC. So thus creating a Division II top 10 and a Division I or FCS top 10. There are upwards of 40 some odd voters. I can tell you, you can do the math here and you can look on the Division I side. If you do the math right, you've got, let's see. If I'm doing the math right, 46, there are 48 voters on the Division I side. Then you have about 40, just a little less than that, maybe 44. Yeah, 44 on the Division II side. Now, and that's because everybody who vote, so you have some people who may vote in both. You may have some people who vote in one or the other, right? Let me make a quick adjustment here and bring myself back in and get some of you guys back in the chats as well. Okay. So as we take a look at the inaugural poll, right? Let's start on the Division II side for just a second, because that's what we're going to talk to. And I know you guys could talk all day about the Division I side. Division II side, Johnson C. Smith is the returning preseason number 1 team. Last year, 10-2, 6-1 in conference, the CIAA champions for the first time in 50 some odd years. They got 12 first place votes. Benedict of the SIAC, though, got the most first place votes, of course, under Coach Ron Dickerson. But in the points as it comes up, and obviously, if you guys are familiar with polls, you get so many points for being first, so many points for being second, so on and so forth. So I got to imagine, the points played out the way they did, where people didn't pick them first. Most likely people picked them third or fourth. And that's my guess on how they ended up as number 2. Albany State, number 3. They picked up 4 first place votes, which, given the fact that, former coach Quinn Gray is no longer there, I was very surprised to see Albany State ranked 3. I'll be honest, very surprised. I thought they would have been maybe number 5, maybe even number 6. But, I think sometimes your name carries weight, and it seems that may have been the case here. As you noticed in the point system, they only finished a point behind Benedict. Number 4, Virginia Union. They got 7 first place votes. Of course, they lost their Harlan Hill award-winning running back, but I think we have seen this program with a strong running back over the last several years, and so there's a strong level of comfort that people have in voting them where they have them. Kentucky State they got no first place votes, but I was very interested to see how people thought about Kentucky State. Kentucky State came in at number 5. Number 6, Fayetteville State, Coach Richard Hayes of the CIAA. They will always be in contention, as they have been for the last several years. Number 7, Virginia State. Number 8, Allen University. I think that is a sleeper waiting to happen. I think they will rise. And I think by the end of the season, they will be higher than 8. I got a feeling Allen may be one of those top 5 teams at the end of the year. Number 9, Edward Waters. And number 10, Tuskegee. Tuskegee getting a first place vote. Fascinating. That right there, that fascinating to me. Somebody at Tuskegee or somebody who covers Tuskegee must know something than me. I see Ram Nation said Livingstone should have been 9 or 10. Yeah, well, are we? All right. Well, look, I will admit to you all that I am a voter in the Black College Football poll. Okay, not going to hide from it. I am a voter, and I did have Livingstone in the top 10. So I'm honored to be a part of the poll. I hope I didn't. I don't think we were supposed to not say who was in the poll, but it is what it is. I am one of the many voters here. Tremendous honor. So yes, Israel. Yes, I am one. Okay. So quickly over to the Division I side. Overwhelmingly, the number 1 choice by many of the voters was South Carolina State. South Carolina State, 36 first place votes. Prairie View, the defending SWAC champs, come in at number 2. Jackson State, the Eastern Division champs from a year ago, at number 3. And Alabama State, who tied with Jackson State in the East, but lost head-to-head. And, despite having a 10-win season, come in at number 4. Now, I will tell you, I think the top 4 is what it is. I think any number of pollsters had those 4 teams, and in terms of what order. Okay? Don't blame me on a poll. Don't blame me on this poll, Edwin. This is a poll, this is not a rankings. This is a poll. Okay? Now, in all true honesty, my number 1 preseason team was Alabama State. Shocker, Alabama State. And you may say, why, Bryan? Why did you have Alabama State ranked number 1? Well, I thought amongst the top 4 teams, and the top 4 teams, South Carolina State, Prairie View, Jackson State, Alabama State, I thought Alabama State has the best returning quarterback amongst the group, right? If I'm not mistaken, both South Carolina State and Prairie View A&M replacing their quarterbacks that played in the Celebration Bowl. Jackson State has an experienced quarterback coming back. Be interested to see what that young man does. And Jared Lockhart, he will be at SWAC Football Media Day. But I think Andrew Body, this is the year. If this isn't the year for Alabama State, for Eddie Robinson Jr., when will it be? No pressure. Yes, can Andrew Body stay healthy? But I think Alabama State might have the best backup, one of the best backups in the SWAC as well. He proved it last year. All right. Number 5 is North Carolina Central out of the MEAC. Number 6, Delaware State. Interesting. That's very high. Number 7, Grambling State. Number 8, Bethune-Cookman. 9, Texas Southern. And 10, Florida A&M. Despite some other polls that I saw that had Florida A&M not even ranked in the top 10. Interesting. Very interesting. So, hey. So let me see. Sure, Bryan, not even a guy that was committed to Clemson. All right. I don't know why Israel. I don't know why FAMU should not be in the poll. Aren't they playing this year? They're playing. Why shouldn't they be there? So it'll be interesting. But again, this is just to get us talking, and that's what it's all about, right? Just something to wet the palate, get you excited. Yeah, I will say this. Now everyone views preseason polls differently. I view preseason poll as what is my indicator of how I think each team will look to open the season. Some people view a preseason poll as they base it off what you did solely last year. But again, with so much fluctuation in the transfer portal, and then specifically, that's why I go to, who's returning? What are the key positions returning? And I think for a lot of folks, and I'm going to use this argument for 2 schools in general, I think Alabama State is the reason why I had them preseason 1. But I think there's also the reason that I think Florida A&M deserves to be in the top 10. And it's not just me wearing my orange and green glasses, but I think it's because they have a lot of returners and they have a coach and quarterback combination coming in that it's not like, hey, we got a new coach and a new quarterback. No, this quarterback and head coach have been together for the last 2 years. They've won at a high level. They've won championships. That means something. And when I look at some of the other teams, I don't see other teams don't have that. I think that makes a difference. So that's just my take on it, my quick thoughts. When I come back, I'll talk to Kris Ferguson, not only about the inaugural poll, but Kris and I will kind of chop it up about what can we expect from the CIAA, who had an amazing season last year. We saw Johnson C. Smith get off the mat and become a powerful team. And then we had, let me see, how many teams did the CIAA have in the playoffs? 2? And could there be more this upcoming year? A lot of things happen in the CIAA. We're going to talk to Kris and kind of catch us up on all of that. So you guys hang tight with us. Hit the thumbs up in the chat. Hit the like button wherever you are, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, and we come back. Get your CIAA questions ready. I'm going to chop it up for the next few minutes with Kris Ferguson. D2football.com, and also he and Stephen Gaither do the mid-major I got to get the official name on that. So I don't know. Kris, you're in the chat. Drop me the official name of the show that you and Steve do. I'm so sorry, but it's a great show that he and Steve do, and they cover Division II football. So I'm always fascinated. I always love those shows and those 2 guys because two of the 2 outstanding writers that get together and talk. So, all right, we'll be back right after these words. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap. It's just me, but coming up, I'll be with Kris Ferguson on the other side right after these words.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image.
Ever told yourself, I want to get into real estate but don't know where to start? Here's something just for you. From Friday, July 31st to Sunday, August 2nd, the Learn Real Estate Fast Masterclass is coming to McKenzie Office Park in College Park. You'll learn wholesaling, commercial investing, and how to purchase property with zero money or credit. I can tell you, education and access are everything. This masterclass is designed to give you both. Whether you're brand new or ready to level up, this is where you start making real moves. Enjoy free lunch, free study materials, and receive a certification of completion. So don't wait. Seats are filling fast. Do not sit on the sidelines while others build wealth. Take that first step toward ownership and legacy. Get your tickets now at learnrealestatefast.com or tickpick.com. For more information, call 678-859-3303. Master the market, build your legacy, secure your future today.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Introducing the HBCU Trivia Game. It's more than a board game. It's a journey to the legacy of historically black colleges and universities. Here's how it works. 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, start as freshmen and roll the dice to advance. But here's the twist. You can only move forward by answering trivia questions about HBCU. Test your knowledge of notable alumni, key historical events, sports milestones, and fun HBCU facts. Watch out for spaces that can propel you ahead or set you back. And if you get a question wrong, you stay put until your next turn. The first to reach graduation wins. The HBCU Trivia Game. Support, educate, entertain. Available now. Let the journey begin.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL on August 29th with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota, representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard, Bulldogs, Bison, the Marching Maroon and White, the Showtime Marching Band, the premier FCS matchup in primetime with a kickoff trophy up for grabs. Join us pre-game for band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan Fulford here, and joining me once again, Kris Ferguson, D2K Ferg out there on social media streets. Kris, man, good to see you, man. How's your off season been?
It's been great. I've been spending a lot of time getting caught up on work items, school items. It's the summertime. Now I get to take some vacations and get all that stuff behind me before the season starts, because I feel like once it starts, it just gets rolling, and it's so much going on from week to week. So it's been a calm off season, but I've also learned last couple of years that football is a year-round sport, and it's not just for the coaches and players. It is for me too.
Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is. Do you find yourself what's like the one thing you've done to kind of get away from just, football? What's something? Did you pick up a new hobby or do something new?
Yeah. So, one of the things I do like on the field, a lot of walking, and I decided to take up hiking this year. So I actually just did some like 13 miles worth of hikes over the last week. And just trying to get that stamina up anyway, because that'll be useful once we get into the season and being on the field a lot. But yeah, I just that was something I definitely picked up, just being outdoors, and it's good for the mental.
13 miles, bro. That's a half marathon. That's
Yeah.
I'd be complaining about doing that extra mile and a half in the morning. And I do 1 mile and a half, and I'm like, man, let me take it back to the car. And whew, good Lord, that's awesome, man. Well, yeah, if I didn't have this Florida heat, I might get out in nature a little bit more.
Oh gosh. Yeah, you have to do it before dawn there.
Yeah, definitely got to do it. Well, the CIAA football media day is on Wednesday. Care to rant about why the CIAA would choose to have their media day on the same day as the SWAC, Kris? Would you like to dip your foot in that pool?
Well, the CIAA has their media day. I don't know what the SWAC does, but it's a very consistent, like that Wednesday of I think it's like the third week of the month in July. It's so consistent. So I almost can write it in my calendar from 1 year to the next. So I don't know if the SWAC changes their dates or what, but it's a pretty consistent Wednesday is what the CIAA does.
Okay. See, I know the SWAC has been at least these last since the expansion. I know they have always been the third Wednesday. So I guess it just, it is what it is, right? I'm gonna stop beating them up about it, because I hate the. Where is the media day this year? Where is the media day? I don't even know where it is.
Durham. It's in Durham at the Hilton in Durham this year.
Okay. Well, as we just think about last year we had two programs make it into the playoffs. Johnson C. Smith with a great season. Actually, just 1 year removed from the disappointment of the close of that 24 season till they finally get over the hurdle in 25. They get to the playoffs. I believe they hosted a game in the playoffs. Virginia Union even hosted a game in the playoffs. So we had two CIAA teams make it in, and sadly both of them lost. Which I think of the two, we were probably more surprised that Virginia Union lost, than a first timer in Johnson C. Smith. Well, just in general, what was your take on that season by those two programs? And we even had a Harlan Hill winner finally from the CIAA, right? Finally,
yes. Well, first of all, the Harlan Hill winner was Curtis Allen was such a huge deal, not just for VU, and not just for the CIAA, but just for Black college football in general. To have that distinction, it felt like atoning for what happened with Amir Hall a few years back.
Yes.
And so it's just been there for the taking, and finally the conference got recognized, and VU did. So, but that was years in the making. In terms of the seasons, VU's loss was more surprising. They were kind of right there on the door against Cal PA, but they had a weakness that seemed to be getting like a bigger and bigger question from week to week, and that was the quarterback play. And that's really what held them back, because Cal basically just dared them to throw, and they had the ability to really slow down Curtis Allen. He only had like 120 yards in that game. And Cal wasn't like a powerhouse on offense either. But if you're looking at JCSU, I actually picked both of them to win. I probably picked JCSU, and it was a bit optimistic because in my observation, teams that get into the playoffs for the first time, they just don't get to that second round. And it takes a couple of years for, I feel like, players and coaches to understand like how the game is with some of these top schools and other conferences. And at that point in time, like, so, and also injuries. I mean, JCSU had issues with injuries that really piled up on them, especially on the offensive line. So, it was a hard fought game. The defense kept them in, but in the end, I think it was like 21-7. It was a good lesson, I felt like. And I think you see some of that. The roster is being overhauled at JCSU, I think, in response to that game.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was also was it the first year that the CIAA moved into the Eastern region?
It was the first year that they moved back into Super Region 1. So, all those runs that WSSU had, that Virginia State got a win, those are all Super Region 1 games. And then we switched to Super Region 2 with the SIAC, and now with realignment, we went back to SR1.
Okay. And the only reason I bring that up is because I think in having a conversation with Stephen Gaither, and of course, for those who aren't familiar, Kris and Stephen, co-hosts of the HBCU Game Day D2 football show. See, I got the name right, right? So make sure to check that out when the season starts. So you guys probably will do a preseason show or two, I'm sure. Again, HBCU Game Day D2 football show. Guess where you can find it? HBCUGameDay.com or on YouTube, HBCU Game Day. Great show, by the way. But I think Steve was saying that scheduling is one of those challenges now that the conference is having to deal with, because there are so many schools that are, you have these traditions, and you only got 2 non-conference games anyway, or at least we'll talk about that in a second. But most of them have 2, and it's hard trying to find teams in that similar region, right?
Yeah, there's a curse that comes with being at the top of the CIAA, which is like some of these other schools don't want to play teams at the top because they fear losing to them. And so, and the CIAA has gotten better from top to bottom, where even the middle, if some of those teams are playing the CIAA team at home, then that home field advantage actually is a thing. And so that's been a real challenge. I think the other piece, though, is you've had teams that have in Division II that have moved up to Division I, like West Florida, that takes a game off the slate. And now you've got like the disintegration, literally the disintegration of the Gulf South Football Conference. And so they're scrapping, trying to find games, and that does help. But then there's some schools like Winston-Salem State, my alma mater, who want to play Division I game. VSU is known for that, and WSSU is doing that. Elizabeth City almost won theirs against Hampton last year. So that's one of the conference games, So it's a variety of issues, but it has been a challenge where the conference recognized that it says, hey, let's just do 2 out of conference instead of 3.
Yeah. Well, one of the announcements that came out prior, I think at the end of June, a few weeks to kind of whet the appetite, besides the announcement that they extended Commissioner Jackie McWilliams Parker, extended her into like 2031. But it's also the announcement that the expanded CIAA football championship format will take place. And I guess more details are coming on Wednesday, but the basics of what we got is, outside of the first and second place teams. Now, again, the CIAA has moved away from divisions. Okay. And so outside of first and second place, the third and fourth place teams at the end of the regular season will play. We don't know where. We don't know when. I'm sure all of that will come out Wednesday. But what's your take on that? We saw how that maybe – well, no, Drew, when I was talking to Drew felt like that helped out the SIAC get a third team in. Do you think this could have a similar benefit for the third place team or whoever wins that third versus four matchup in the CIAA?
You know, I'm a praying man. I've been doing lots of praying, and I've been talking about this for years on years on years about how the CIAA needs an 11th game. And so for them to finally have put something together is like, oh, thank goodness, like somebody is listening. Yes, it would tremendously help. And it's funny because I feel like the team that it probably helps the most, like year after year, will be Fayetteville State. Because they're always right there on the cusp. And I'm like, don't get excited, guys. Yes, you see Fayetteville State in there, but don't get excited because they eventually, I feel like, end up being the first team out, except for that one season. I think it was 2024 where they were the 7th seed. I just feel like that's the one school that just seems to just benefit from something like this. But yes, I think the conference is best served by having that the top four teams have an 11th game, you know, the championship game, and then because I think that really helped with getting both teams to have a home game last year, and then the 3 versus 4 could help another team get maybe into like a 7th seed or something like that.
Yeah. As I thought about this game, and I think Drew and I were kind of tossing this around when this announcement came out a couple weeks ago, I think the ideal spot to have that game. Now, this all is predicated on when they have the championship game. Let's just say that they have the championship game at a 4 or 5 o'clock Saturday. The ideal spot would be on Saturday at noon to have this 3 versus 4 matchup. You know, you don't have to ask anybody to play early on a Friday. You don't take away from the high school football thing, but it really sets you up to have a good day of CIAA football where you have a 3rd versus 4th game. And then once that game finishes, you know, probably within a 3-hour window, then at 4 o'clock, you got your championship game, and your eyes will go from one. And that's the TV guy in me that's seeing that. I don't know. No telling what the conference will decide to do. And I don't even think you need to have a neutral site. I would just say, hey, if you finish 3rd, guess what? You get a host a game, right? You get an extra benefit of having a home game. What's your thought on that scenario? Or do you have a scenario in mind?
I envision even like Thursday, like, because
Thursday.
I say that like when you're looking for games like on a national level, that if like nobody's really playing on a Thursday that late in the season, and if you did it on a Thursday, you probably still got some folks on campus. It doesn't take away too much from the Saturday game where, you know, maybe some fatigue sets in, or I think, and then also like, you know, the CIAA streams games. Like, you know, if you do it on Saturday, is the contract going to pick up both games? Or are you going to stream one and try to change things out? I think it just gets more eyes on those two teams by having it on a day where there's like no other real competition except for like maybe like pro football.
Yeah. And those Thursday night pro football games are, I mean, they are what they are, right?
Right.
You know, no telling who you're gonna get. You know,
that's right.
But it's the NFL. But football guys, we're gonna figure a way to watch multiple screens anyway.
Definitely.
Since you mentioned streaming, you know, there hasn't been to my understanding, a renewed contract with the HBCU Go group for not only the CIAA but the SIC. Even though the CIAA has a network, they were the predecessor of what you see the SWAC and the SIAC doing. Shout out to the CIAA for doing it first a long time ago, right? Big deal or no big deal that that there's no contract yet, if at all.
I don't think it's a big deal. I think other conferences they stream their games. You know, some of those conference championship games are actually home games, and so you know, in terms of the viewing the game, I don't see it as a big deal. You know, if there's money involved, that's certainly an item, but in terms of the actual football and seeing it, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
And the CIAA Sports Network was one of the first networks to have their app available on Roku and Apple TV and all these other sites. So trust me, I remember a couple years ago when I think Steve put me onto that. I was like, what? I can download this on my Roku? Oh, it was over. I downloaded it right there on the Roku. So, you know, you can watch all games in the conference. So, again, shout out to the CIAA, you know, on that front. If they get their social media team. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. We're not gonna talk bad about anybody in the conference today. We're gonna move forward, keep it positive. All right, let's talk about who is the. You know, I was just doing a quick little research here. You know, I'm working on my AI skills, Kris. So I punched it into the AI, and you know, I said, well, give me the teams who are the serious favorites in the conference and who are the contenders. You know, favorites: Johnson C. Smith, Virginia Union, Fayetteville State. Serious challengers: Virginia State, Livingstone. Who is the team that you are looking for? And first off, I think it's hard to figure out who's coming back for us who aren't following it every day, because my God, the transfer portal, if you think it's something for Division I, it's got to be something at the D2 level. So from what you can tell, who has the best of the best coming back, and who do you see as some of the teams that'll be in the hunt this year?
Oh man, well, this is probably a good opportunity for at least me to put out a plug about, if you're interested about what the transfer portal has done to the CIAA. You know, I have a thread on that on d2football.com because, okay. And it's really been like the third year I think I've done this, because I'm trying to keep track of what's going on and all the changes. Oh my gosh, it's just so much. You know, people jump in, then they come back to school. People jump in, they leave. You see folks come back. I mean, all three of those. I have scenarios of that this year.
Wow.
Yeah. Traquan Johnson, Elizabeth City running back, one of the top running backs in the conference. Went to Norfolk State, went for spring ball, and came back to Elizabeth City. So he'll be out there this fall. A cornerback to name out there that was really good. Jalen Furby Galat. He was at Winston State, transferred to Wagner last year, and is back in the conference, but he is now at JCSU. So that's a really another notable name. You know, in terms of like just teams out there, you know, you got to start with the champs, right? I mean, JCSU, a lot of losses, especially with Kelvin Durham, you know, quarterback, losing, you know, wide receivers. You know, Brevin Caldwell, he didn't really play much last year. He was hurt, but he's transferred to Norfolk State. And Biggie Proctor, who was huge, is now gone. But you know, they picked up, you know, Fabian Duncan. So Nanny Boo Boo to the SIC folks, because we took their offensive player of the year. He is now at JCSU, and
that's like the second time. Isn't that the second time JCSU's done that?
Yeah, man, that JCSU crowd, man. Woo! Yeah, and then, you know, if he gets to pair up with Bobby T. Smith, who came on real strong late in the season, oh my goodness, that is a 1-2 punch.
You see the guys from the SIC sit down and saying, "Is Bobby T healthy?"
I don't know. I hope so, because man, that's a show I want to see. with those two in the backfield. And they seemed to also have reloaded at quarterback. They got in 2 transfers from the FCS level. And what was funny was and funny to me, maybe not to some of the other guys, but JCSU went through spring game. And after spring game, you just saw like the transfer portal just flooded with like players looking to go elsewhere. And I think that shows you that turnover that, remaking the roster to try to gear up to not just win in conference, but win in the playoffs as well. So that one really stands out. And I think if you're talking about the transfer portal, I know Fayetteville State likes to be under the radar, but I know that there's something sneaky going on down there in Vietnam because those guys getting ready to go to war.
What'd you call it? Hold on, wait a minute. What'd you just call it, Kris?
Vietnam. Yeah. Because Allen has lost quite a bit of folks, and Fayetteville State picked up Jameer Disputes, and that's a huge get for a position that just hasn't been solid over the last year or so, last couple of years. It was really unsteady, and now that you got a quarterback that can really get the ball downfield, really curious to see what they do with him. And also, they picked up, a few other folks on the defensive line. That's a unit that always is really a standout for Fayetteville State. So, man, like that's a team that is, to me, probably under radar for a lot of folks that I will certainly be looking at as well. The CIAA is got a lot of turnover at quarterbacks. I think you see that when you look at who's going to media day. A lot of offensive linemen going to media day.
Oh, wow. That's not
sexy.
Right.
And only Alexander Marsh from Shaw, the quarterback, going. But RJ Matthews from Virginia State, who was the top quarterback in terms of, I think, passing yards, I believe, or total offense, he is, to what I understand, is returning. And so that's a huge boost for VSU because they are losing for the second straight year one of their really good running backs in Rejon Hamlin with the Texas Southern. So it's kind of a next man up there at that position. VUU, the other team we really haven't talked about, VUU is a lot of question marks. I just need to see their roster at this point. They just got decimated again for another season on the defensive side of the ball. Somebody had mentioned that their pass defense was suspect. Yeah, well, on top of that, now you've lost those guys to the transfer portal. Who's going to be throwing the ball this year? Are they okay with Miles Derricott? Are they going to go with somebody else? Who's going to run the ball this year? Just a lot of questions there, in my opinion. Same thing, Elizabeth City. Who's going to take over for Chris Perkins, who really pulled a lot of magic out to win games that especially I think Bowie State still probably have the nightmares from their tragic collapse against ECSU. So, man, there are a lot of moving parts. Bowie's got a new coach, Odoms. And very curious to see what he does there. Maybe more so year 2 than year 1, but I mean, it's a lot of moving parts there, and you can't sleep on Livingstone.
I love how you and now also. So I don't know if you wanted me to do this for you, so it doesn't look like you're the homer, but go ahead and talk about how excited you are, because I know somebody in the chat is really excited about Torrey Woodbury coming back to Winston-Salem State. So I'll give you a chance. What can we expect? What can we expect this year? I'm just saying. I'm just asking.
I don't know. I don't know what to expect. So I went to the spring game. I was definitely encouraged by the defense. The offense, the running game that they had was certainly a little encouraging as well. But the quarterback, they lost their 3-year starter and Dalen Lee transferred to to Tennessee State. That was a huge loss for them. And so that, it feels like the Winston State of old that will like to run the ball, but by the time you get to the third quarter, like I just wonder, like our teams are just going to basically like stop the run and they can't pass, and then they got ahead early and then they lose the game, and we all just sit there and just say, what the heck?
Well, you're a tortured soul. I don't do that to yourself, Kris. Don't do that to yourself. It's too early. It's the preseason,
I know. I haven't. They've added some pieces in the transfer portal. I've been wondering what they're going to do, especially at quarterback, to get a little bit more experience there. I know Wilson Cartbow from Fayetteville State, who had a little bit of playing time there, transferred. The staffing, I like the staffing in place. I really do. I'm just, is this a year one type of thing, or do you see how it goes in year one, and year two is where you see the bigger jump? I think I'm just keeping my expectations a little tempered right now.
I got you. Okay, final couple thoughts here for you, Kris. I was just taking a peek at Johnson C. Smith's opening schedule. And for those who aren't familiar, they are talking about not ducking any smoke. Opening the season August 29th on the road, the Battle of the Border, as it's being called, in Columbia, South Carolina, where the number 1 versus number 2 teams in the recent Black College Football poll will battle it out. So it does not get any bigger to open the season, Johnson C. at Benedict. And then if that's not a kicker, in the next week, you got the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic between Johnson C. and Albany State. And, Albany State obviously will have a new coach, and, but still, they not ducking any smoke, Johnson C., are they, right off the bat?
Nope. I mean, yeah, those are 2 really tough games. You got the added spiciness of that Albany game featuring, David Bowser, who was the, assistant at JCSU a year prior. So, and a couple of those guys that did transfer in the spring made their way down to Albany. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a chess match there. I mean, the Benedict game, man, that's going to be a bit of a fist fight. That's going to be a very physical game. But you know what? Like, as much as I see that, I think the toughest opener is Fayetteville State, because they open with Shaw, which is never really a gimme for them. Then they have UNC Pembroke, who was on the cusp of the playoffs, and then Valdosta, who made the playoffs. And then you got Johnson C. Smith and VUU for Fayetteville State right behind that. So we're going to learn a lot about Fayetteville State in those first 5 games really quickly.
Is that Shaw game for Fayetteville State a conference game?
It's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be, because UNCP and Valdosta's on the schedule as the 2 out of conference. So yeah, it's got to be.
Okay. I know they're only playing seven games, 7 conference games. So that's why.
Well, then it'll be, it wouldn't.
It might be a non-conference conference game.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Kris, let people know how they can follow your coverage on Wednesday. I know you always do a lot of live tweeting during games. Will you be live tweeting during the media day?
Oh yeah, of course. So you can find me at D2K on X, also on Instagram as well. Try to get some footage of games and stuff like that on there, whether I'm live in person or I'm watching multiple screens at home or somewhere else on the continent. I will be at Media Day. I'm looking forward to interacting with coaches. I have a book right here of all my questions that I've been wanting to ask and come a little bit more prepared this time around, because there's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of questions. And we're going to have some new coaches there for the first time at CIAA Media Day as head coach. Special shout out to Coach Hayes and Coach Jones. 10 years that they have been a head coach. 10 straight years they've been a head coach in the CIAA.
At the same school.
Coach Hayes, yeah.
Coach Hayes,
at Fayetteville State. Coach Jones switched from Shaw to ECSU, but
in the conference, 10 years in the conference.
10 years in the conference as a head coach, straight.
That should definitely be celebrated this day and age. Getting anybody into that 10-year with the turnover that's happening in college athletics. Hey, congratulations to those two guys, those two coaches.
Yep.
Definitely should be applauded. Again, that's at D2KFerg. And make sure you guys tune in on Wednesday. Also, look for Kris and Stephen Gaither. The HBCU Game Day D2 football show will be coming out on YouTube and HBCUGameDay.com. And that's where you can find those two guys. And they'll be talking about more than just WSSU Rams. But if they get the winning, though, watch out. It may become a heavy WSSU Rams show if they get the winning. So we'll see. I love it. I love it, man. Talk your stuff with your school. I love it, man.
Yeah, we talk win or lose. I mean, last year it was it was a little brutal at times last year.
I know.
And if you just want to see what the show looks like, just go look at the past shows. I mean, there's some really great segments.
Oh yeah,
that are on there.
Holding back. No holding
Absolutely
back.
Not.
No holding back. Well, hopefully you get a chance to talk to everybody, and the coaches don't see you and be like, "Oh, that's the guy from that show. Let me go the other way." Hopefully they sack up and come talk to you. And I look forward to checking back in with you. And let me know when you and Steve decide to, compare notes and do that first show so we can make sure to promote it for you guys. All right.
Absolutely. We'll do.
All right. Again, appreciate your time tonight, Kris. Again, D2K Ferg is where you can find them. CIAA Football Media Day coming up on Wednesday from Durham, North Carolina. That's where they will be. And I'm sure it'll be on the CIAA Sports Network as well.
Yep.
Always a good broadcast, by the way. I mean, I'm telling you, a good broadcast. So a lot of stuff happening on Wednesday. So get your multiple screens ready. All right. Thanks for your time tonight, Kris. All right. We'll be back in just a minute. Kelvin Carter's coming in to join me right here on the BCSN SportsWrap. We'll be back after these words. This is Bryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural taste, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now. From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Attention football fans. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota is back in Atlanta on August 29th. Representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard. Join us at Center Park Stadium for a full day of tailgating, football, and bands.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan Fulford, Kelvin, you gotta put some lights. Gotta adjust your lighting there. I see them.
Yeah, let me adjust the lighting and see what's going on. How's my microphone, B?
The mic sounds great.
All right,
sounds great.
Let us see. Let us see.
Yeah, we got to get that. Got to get you a little more lighting on there.
Yeah, I was thinking that, Bryan. Let me see what we got. Let me see what we got here.
Not much better. Not better at all. Not better at all.
We're gonna figure this out. Hold on. We're working on it.
All right. We'll get it worked out. Somebody said, "Tell Kelvin to cut on the damn lights." Put the lights on.
I'm trying to get it going. Is that better, B?
I don't know. Cut the TV off behind you. Maybe the background is creating a contrast that's a little bit too much. Yeah, okay. So cut the monitor. There we go. Okay, that's what it was. The contrast was not working for you, brother.
I know.
All right. Well, welcome back to the show. Kelvin Carter here, good friend of the program. And an avid supporter of Alcorn State. Sorry, Edwin. We got to cut the Golden Girls off. I know it's tough. It was either watch the Golden Girls or see Kelvin. You know and that's any other day I would go Golden Girls, but for this period of time, Kelvin, I'd rather be able to see you. How you been, man?
It'll work. Other than that, I know the summer's going well. It's as an educator, it's summertime, so it's always about that time that we're gonna, get back into the groove of things. And SWAC Media Day kind of marks that, midpoint for summer for most of us that are out there. So it should be a good time in Birmingham, and kind of studying the Braves. Been real quiet on the social media front, and been digging into it. We got a transfer quarterback from Jackson State, Ethan Terrell. And also with our quarterback from last year coming back, so the quarterback room should have some healthy competition. So I think we got a good thing going on.
Yeah, I always say, it's kind of a nice contrast. Last year we didn't see very many quarterbacks at the SWAC Football Media Day.
Right.
We were just talking to Kris. The CIAA doesn't have a lot of quarterbacks on Media Day, but when we look at the SWAC, I think there are, by my unofficial count, I think 7 of the 12 are bringing a quarterback. I'm just doing a quick glance. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
7 of the 12 are bringing a quarterback. And when we talk about returners within the conference, Jalen Tolbert obviously is a returner. Andrew Body, of course, returner. Cornelius Brown, the 4th, is a returner in terms of returning with that same team, as well as Jared Lockhart. And I think the other quarterbacks obviously may have played elsewhere or had time with Yeah, Tolbert. So when you look at the quarterback room and you look at Tolbert for Alcorn State, what's the temperature in the room? You know, do you feel like the way he finished last year was a great indicator of what this year could be for the Braves?
Yes, and this is just purely my opinion. After watching us kind of close the year out, I think about 5-1 maybe, or 4-1. Went into the Jackson State game really, really strong. He played well. He started to embody a lot of the things that Coach Cedric talked about with regards to taking what's given, using your legs to extend the plays, and bring about some of those great things that we've come to know about our Brave quarterbacks. Going back, just if you just step back in time and look at our quarterbacks that were successful, they're the ones that could get it done with their legs, but also, you know, they can spin the ball. So I think he found that balance down the stretch as the Braves got on track. And I think we're looking forward to a big year. You know, we got our first home opener for the first time, I believe, in almost 10 years, but it's at a minimum. I know it didn't happen in the last 5. We'll be playing on 8/29. We'll open up with Miles at home. So I think that's going to be, you know, a great event for the Braves fans. That also, too, we got a golf tournament there with Donald Driver in Jackson, Mississippi on that Friday at the Refuge golf course there. So they put together a package of events to open up the season that we haven't seen in a while. So I think there's some good, strong buzz around the Braves around the state.
Now, we know how challenging the start of last year was, losing those first 5 games. And
Yes.
I would say, with the exception of, I'm just looking back, with the exception of the Mississippi State game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Alcorn was in striking distance or in the lead in 4 of those 5 games, correct? I mean, I'm just...
Yes. We played well. Yeah, take the money game
enough
out.
to win, but
Yeah. Take the money game out. I just think that quarterback identity and that team identity is something that once it was bought into, I think they showed it over like a 4-game winning streak. I think we might have had 5. And even the Jackson State game left us looking like, man, we really we had a really good unit out there, got some things kind of ironed out, you know, with the mechanics of how the team was going to operate. But I tell you, what I saw at the end of last season led me to have nothing but high expectations for this season. However, like the gentleman just spoke about previously, the portal is something else. You know, it'll change the dynamics of your locker room, of your lineups. And so with all these moving pieces, I think there's none other place that you find that in the SWAC and probably in the MEAC or in our HBCU conferences. What exactly does the movement do to your rosters and with the product you're able to put out? Because, you know, I think Jackson State's is set a pretty high bar of consistency here. And Bama State's strong. You know, they got body and he's playing well. And like you noted last year, his health is always going to be the determining factor of how far these teams go. So I think we're all trying to get to a bar of consistency with the right mix of transfer and JUCO and high school kid to put the best product out there on the field for the fans, because the fans aren't waiting for that. They hire a coach.
Right.
There's an expectation that, you know, that coach puts the best product out there on the field for those who support the university.
So speaking of that fan expectation, how important is the start of this season, the opening month for Cedric Thomas? Because, you know, there's people talk and, you know, disgruntled fans, you know, you remember the end of the season. Obviously, you won 4 of the last 5. You had a 4-game streak going into that into that last game. Which you played well enough to win. But you look, I'm repeating the story of last season, playing well enough to win, but not winning, right? So how important, how big is this opening month for Coach Thomas and his look? I hate to put people on the hot seat, but you know, we are in that day and age. So how important is it for his future health at Alcorn State?
You know, it's in the chat that I need to take a look at who those wins were against. And I'll tell you what, I think we all know this. Like, we were at Media Day. We've been there together probably for the last 2 or 3 years. We get these preseason predictions. I think year before last, we were predicted to finish number 1 in our division. We come out, that does not happen. I do think looking at this year's schedule, we open with Miles. I think then we head probably to Hattiesburg for USM there. Then we'll head to Florence, Alabama, or either we go to the
Memphis event, the Southern Heritage
matchup. So there's a potential that when we looked at the schedule, my brother and I talked about this over the weekend, we could open up the season 5-1.
Okay.
You know, that's very realistic. I don't know what we'll know about from the USM game, because I've seen mechanically how they try to handle that game. That game's a payout. I just think some of the things that we truly need to look at is, we were talking about this earlier as well. If you can get away from the money game that could be detrimental to your season, you know, it's a twofold piece. We talk about this all the time around the finances of it. And then you have a scenario where Jackson State went into that same game with USM last year and got nicked up. And it got nicked up pretty enough to kind of throw them off balance throughout the season, which ends up they did not get the opportunity to go to Celebration Bowl, which is the ultimate goal in all of this. So I think we have to really, really look at this with a strategic lens. You know, I think we can go in there and we can beat North Alabama. I think we're going to open up their brand new stadium or all of their renovations. That's going to be a good time in Florence, Alabama for that group. And it's going to stream somewhere and or be televised. So I don't know if the fan base is as raucous as one might think.
Okay.
You're going to have some internal pieces, but I think those that matter most in those rooms are understanding of the challenges of the program, but also understanding that you hired Coach Thomas for a reason, and he can do an effective job, and I believe he's got the right people around him to make things go.
The SWAC issued an edict, is what I'm going to call it, about playing non-NCAA teams in the future. I noticed on the schedule, Alcorn's got a game against Arkansas Baptist and NAIA. What's your thought on those games? Or do you support that? You agree with that edict about trying to keep it at least NCAA Division II or up?
Well, I think when this came out, I think it was in the backlash of everything, because there were at least 3 SWAC schools that played Lincoln last year, and we were one of them.
Right.
I think Valley played them and Prairie View played them along with Alcorn.
Yeah. And
I was at the game, and it was clearly evident that we should not have been playing that team for that game, no matter what our record was. And so I think in the grand scheme, I think as we collaborate more with the other conferences, I think once upon a time, we used to have an opponent for homecoming that will remain nameless that we always beat. And I think everybody always beat them, and they were a SWAC opponent. Times have changed, you know, and people want to win on homecoming. Now, I have seen us play tough games on homecoming. I've seen us play Grambling on homecoming. You know, I don't think you have to go so low as to try to guarantee a win, or you're going to put your most competitive piece out there. But I am of the ilk that I do believe that game should be no lower than a D2.
Okay.
You know, I don't think the Arkansas Baptist game. I just think. And also, too, in talking with, you know, athletic administrators across the board, they did run into some scheduling pieces. Like, you have some components now where if you lose to a SWAC school and you're the other team, you're going to kill yourself in your rankings or this playoff over here. If you play, you know, you play intra-conference, I would be in favor of this. It'd be an all SWAC schedule. And we just play the other. And if we don't get a Miles or we don't get a McNeese or somebody this close, just play 4 teams from the other division. If they're amicable to it, if that's what they want to do, make your out of conference games just be other SWAC games.
So you're not necessarily talking about playing a 9-game conference schedule. You're just saying instead of playing a Division II, go, because I think Southern's done this before where they'll play a couple of, you know, non-conference conference games.
Right.
Because those are draws.
Yeah. I think Alabama State does it as well. There's some, I just think maybe capitalizing, getting stronger around who we are. We talked about this earlier in the day, who our institutions are. You know, what natural rivalries can you build? I do feel like the Miles piece with it, it's not that far away. It's Birmingham. Get into a home and home, you know, go over, play them. We, you know, however it works, but I think we have to be a little bit, more creative. And that's a piece I think is to be talked about. In the chat, one of the guys was saying, there's the biggest difference between the MEAC and the SWAC is they're out of conference schedule and no one of the MEAC leads in Celebration Bowl victories. I've always wondered that. I don't know enough about MEAC out of conference scheduling because I've never really looked at it. But
there's only five conference games. There's like 5 conference games. So over half of your schedule is non-conference games.
Right. I meant, let me clarify that. The strength of the other team, the teams that they're like, for example, who does, let's see, who does North Carolina Central? They're playing Texas Southern. Who does North Carolina Central play out of conference?
They'll probably have a school. I don't have it up, but they'll probably play a SWAC school. They'll probably play a is it SoCon? They'll probably play a couple of SoCon or Big South schools.
Okay.
In that area, they usually have at least a couple of non-conference games against the Big South. So obviously they'll probably play a money game, but you can do a lot of things when you have 6 non-conference games. Hell, and now that it's a 12-game schedule, 7 non-conference games are what you're looking at. So you got a lot of options.
Right. And I think and there's floating it around in the chat. I do think that Alcorn bouncing over to, I think it's the Southland Conference that has McNeese and those teams in it. The best model that I've seen, and I'll always give credit where credit is due, is I think what they do with Alabama State. They play the SWAC schedule. Then I know for sure, I believe they're going to play Miles. They're going to play Tuskegee. They're almost not going to leave the state at some point unless they come over to Jackson or unless they come to Alcorn or unless they go to Valley. But if you look at their schedule, they have a schedule that fosters the love of their school. People can get to the games. They're within striking distance. They play in great places. They're about to play Southern in Birmingham. We were tossing up a coin over what do you think the attendance is going to be for the Southern Alabama State game on August 29th in Birmingham with Marshall Faulk's debut as the head coach of the Southern Jaguars. I think in theory, it might draw 50,000 people.
Ooh, that's interesting. I was being conservative. I was saying they'd be good if they get 30.
I think it'll pace over 30.
Okay.
I'm just saying that because it's Bama State. It's the first game.
Yeah.
And it's not like the MEAC SWAC Challenge is a standalone at this point where it's nothing else to do. Right. So you got Bama State coming off a hot season. You got body bag, big NIL deal. You got the pomp and circumstance of the Marshall Faulk hire at Southern to see what that's going to look like. I'll give it plus 30. It might not get to 50, but I'll give it plus 30. Birmingham's a nice place, and that's good weekend to go hang out in Birmingham and enjoy the city. And then, it's another game that we're talking about with the attendance as well is the Jackson State.
Oh, yeah. Tennessee State. Jackson State, Tennessee State. Now, that's going to be over at Vanderbilt Stadium.
Which this is intriguing. Vanderbilt played Alcorn about 3 years ago, and their stadium literally they have the smallest SEC stadium, but they chose to update it in a way that was phenomenal. So they built a brand new basketball practice facility and then ended that into the end zone and made it into like a super lounge restaurant type deal. And then they put up some other things. So that stadium is about it seats about 28K. So it's a smaller SEC stadium, but when I say a great environment for basketball, for football, for play, I guess the question I was going to ask you too, Bryan, what are your thoughts about us taking that game into a non-Black institution?
Well, that's I don't think Tennessee. Well, look, from all accounts, Tennessee State, who originally they had deals with the Nissan Stadium folks, but apparently a preseason game got scheduled. So obviously NFL preseason takes precedent, even though that game had been on the books. So I don't know if that, I read comments where people felt like that it was something about, they felt some kind of way about Tennessee State. Look, I think it's a Tennessee State issue. You know, among all the issues Tennessee State has, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting any kind of value from Vanderbilt in terms of what you can get from that game? Because Jackson State folks will go. They will be there in droves. They will probably outdraw the Tennessee State folks. I'm just a wild guess here, right? So if that stadium that stadium's got to hold more than 28, Kelvin.
No, it doesn't, because Alcorn holds 20. Alcorn holds 22.5.
Damn.
And
that thing is going to be a sellout. If it only holds 28, as you say, that thing is going to be a sellout. And I will be willing to go 60-40 Jackson State.
Yeah. And
yeah, somebody said it.
Somebody's 40. Making a piece about the finance of this, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking with Drew about this, and he says there are distinct advantages that you have when you get into certain stadiums, especially with them being up to date. He said one of them is the broadcast capabilities and all the things that go along with the media and the inner workings of it, which that's a plus for the game, the look, the feel of it. I think it's because they got there inadvertently, meaning that game got scheduled. I just asked a question around how do you feel about that from an institutional perspective, because the only other option would have been that game would have had to been played in Jackson, because there's not a host site big enough where they, monetize the game. And then that game would have had to go to Jackson, and you know what was going to happen. It was going to be about 45,000, 50,000 people there for that. So that piece.
Tennessee State folks will probably be upset about the fact that why couldn't we have had this at Hale Stadium? Now, I don't know what the conditions are at Hale. They played a game at Hale 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And they don't do it often. But they have played a few games at Hale. And I think only seats are like 20, 21. So I don't know if I don't know if they're unable to play in that stadium, but they're moving to a place that seats 40. I guess I'm looking at it here. The First Bank Stadium on the campus of Vanderbilt seats 40,350. So if you can get all 40,000 seats plus, you might have a sellout for this game. You might sell this game out. But again, I'm still hedging 60-40 Jackson State fans on this stadium, because there are people within the Tennessee State community who will not want to go to a game being played at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and I think with all that's going on in the legislature there, that's the reason why I asked that question, because there's so much going on there. It's a fight for the funding. They always got them under the gun. And who's to say, now I know we're not going to believe this, but who's to say that this might not have just been, some good old, hey, we'll do you guys a favor. You're in a pinch. Somebody might eat the bill. We know that's not going to happen. That'd probably be more of a Dr. Cavill question about how do you think that they're, how do you think that they would be able to compensate them for that?
Yeah. Appreciate Mo Carter dropping some notes. Mo will be coming up here in the next segment, so appreciate Mo jumping in some info on the Vanderbilt Stadium as well as the contract in the chat. So those of you, if you're on our YouTube feeds, you're seeing those. Actually, you're seeing them comments on the screen there in the chat. Kelvin, let me do this, and obviously we'll see you on Wednesday. But I want to get your. Now I'm going to ask you this, and you can choose to go two routes. I'm going to ask you your predictions for placement, but you can do it in what you think the media day will be, the order of finish, or what you think the media votes will be, which I think is always fascinating. So you can either give where you think, how you would rank these teams going into preseason, SWAC East, SWAC West, or what you think the media votes will come, not the media votes, because it's not media votes, it's the SIDs and the coaches. What do you think the conference predicted order of finishes will be?
Okay, do me a favor right quick, Bryan.
Switch
Can you
over.
let me in on the other device, yes.
Yeah, hold on a second. There we go.
Yeah, I had to.
You got to cut off the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
So, predicted order of finish.
Predicted order of finish, East and West.
Okay.
Or again, if it's not yours, what you think the SIDs and the coaches will vote, how they'll vote. Because again, last year Alcorn was predicted 1, in the West. Didn't work out that way.
So I was trying not to allude to that earlier when we were having that conversation.
It's all good.
Yeah. If I'm picking, can we just go with one and then let everybody else just fall? We can pick them out of a hat.
Go ahead.
I think Jackson's going to win their division again.
At the end of the season?
No, I think Jackson's going to. Oh, you're saying.
What is the preseason? What do you think the preseason prediction will be to win the East, to win the West? I'm not holding you to it. You know, who do you think will win? I just say what you think the predicted order will be.
Okay, hold on. Jackson State won.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And I'm picking Bama State out of the East. Oh, stop. I'm taking Jackson State over Bama State. So I'll go Jackson, Bama State, A&M.
Which A&M?
Alabama A&M. And I think you can draw the rest of them out of the hat. FAM, Valley, and Bethune.
Okay, fair.
And then in our division, I'm not allowed to pick. I believe we're going to win, but the preseason prediction is going to be probably more than likely. They're leaning on Prairie View. I got the itchy suspicion Southern is going to be really good.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm taking Southern over Prairie View. So we're going to go Southern, Grambling, Prairie View.
Grambling as well over Prairie View. Wow. Oh, I can't wait to get into this on Wednesday.
And then after that, you can draw us out of a hat again.
Ooh-wee. Boy, talking
like this. People couldn't be any more wrong than they were last year about Alcorn being predicted.
Hey, exactly.
I mean, exactly. I might be better at this than most when it comes to handicapping these situations.
You can't be too wrong, Kelvin. It's all good, man. It's all good because at the end of the day, there's only a few people in the chats who keep receipts, and the rest of them they're only gonna hold you to it for about a month, and then they're forgotten. You know, so you know, maybe. You know, all right, Kelvin. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, brother. You know, probably catch up with you sometime Tuesday. But safe travels to Birmingham, and look for Kelvin joining us on our Black College Sports Network coverage live from the Sheridan SWAC Football Media Day 2026, right here on the Black College Sports Network. All day coverage. Well, not all day, but
it's gonna be pretty much all day. I think it'll be a little bit more hectic, you know.
Yeah, we might have more live coverage than SWAC TV. I'm just saying, you know.
I think so. Yeah,
just longer. So, all right. Hang tight. We'll be back after these words. Mo Carter. I got another Carter joining here. It's the Carters on a weekend when Hova, you know, that other Carter took the stage. So it's all about the Carters this weekend. So we'll be back right after these words on the BCSN SportsWrap. This is Bryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN SportsWrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN SportsWrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. As we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Introducing the HBCU Trivia Game. It's more than a board game. It's a journey to the legacy of historically black colleges and universities. Here's how it works. 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up. Start as freshmen and roll the dice to advance. But here's the twist. You can only move forward by answering trivia questions about HBCU. Test your knowledge of notable alumni, key historical events, sports milestones, and fun HBCU facts. Watch out for spaces that can propel you ahead or set you back. And if you get a question wrong, you stay put until your next turn. The first to reach graduation wins. The HBCU Trivia Game. Support, educate, entertain. Available now. Let the journey begin.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL on August 29th with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff presented by Toyota, representing the SWAC, Alabama A&M, and representing the MEAC, Howard, Bulldogs, Bison, the Marching Maroon and White, the Showtime Marching Band, the premier FCS matchup in primetime with a kickoff trophy up for grabs. Join us pre-game for band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Joining me now, none other than a Southern legend, as well as Fox 54 in Huntsville's Mo Carter. Mo, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Hey, Bryan, I'm doing well, man. I'll say this. I'm not exactly sure if the legend part goes for when I was actually on the bluff. Maybe the school kind of, made what I do nowadays legendary, in that space. But I do appreciate, the love and whatnot. And, of course, hey, we got media days coming up, which means that we're about to really, really be busy for, like, the next 6 months.
Man, look, talking season is full blown. As the chats are hot, guys in the chats, shouting you out. Good to see you. A lot of people that you know, I'm sure, or at least know you out there. First thing, let me get your take on the. Let me put it up here. The Black College Football Poll, the debut of the poll. Again, where as we look at it, it is heavy SWAC, although the preseason number one is from the MEAC. But, what's your take on the inaugural Black College Football Poll?
Well, I'll go ahead and say this. Nothing surprised me with this poll, primarily because at the end of the day, when you have your voters, they're going to take a look at what's going on from last year. And clearly, you go with the two teams that were the champ on the Division I side and one of the teams that made the deepest runs on the Division II side as, being like the top dogs. And I'll go ahead and say, I know some people in this in the mix who voted, and I think everybody had the same problem. They were able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then after that, 6 through 10 was very, very tough because not only do you have depleted rosters and changing rosters, at the end of the day, you just don't know who's coming back. So, preseason polls, I've always felt like, it's something to show, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a whole lot of teams that use those preseason polls as bulletin board materials, and I imagine that if you aren't South Carolina State or if you aren't Johnson C. Smith, everything else is a bulletin board material piece.
So what is? And I admitted to everybody earlier in the show, I am a voter in that. I don't know if you are or not, but if you were voting on preseason polls, what angle? And I think you can look at a couple different angles. Do you look at it from a perspective of what a team did at the end of last year and giving them their credit starting the new year, or do you kind of table that and look at what these top 4 or 5 teams have coming back and maybe shade them a little higher than somebody who finished last year as number 1 or 2?
I kind of do a mix of both when it comes to me doing, especially, preseason polls. And the ideology that came through my brain was, okay, who did what last year? And then, who's coming back or whatever this year. I'll tell you, one of the hardest things for me, for example, in the 2 preseason polls that I voted for was like trying to place a team like Albany State. Yes, I know they had a phenomenal season last year, but they don't have the head coach that led them anymore, and they don't have the quarterback that led them.
Exactly.
So it was really, really hard to really, really do that. And of course, those 2 individuals are now at your alma mater for this upcoming year. And, those things, start to fry your brain just a little bit. And I mean, I'm not a big analytics guy, but then I'm kind of like, okay, well, maybe I need to put a chat GPT type thing in this space or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just want to try to just be in a spot where I can at least put some teams in place and then kind of just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely tough. I admitted and told people earlier in the show that I had, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, toss them up and pull names out of the hat, in my opinion. And I think you see that based on all 4 of the top 4 teams getting votes. I went with my preseason number 1 was Alabama State. I looked at their record, and if I looked at them compared to, and I'm looking at this year, August 29th, not really, knowing what they not paying too heavy to what they did last year. But if I'm walking into those 3 teams and saying who's got the expected better quarterback, again, expected, not guaranteed, but expected, is Andrew Body, right?
Correct.
Who lost their starting quarterback, or the quarterbacks who played in the Celebration Bowl, unless I get some news that I'm not aware of. Those 2 aren't there. So, that was me. That's just me. That's where I went. But again, just putting it out there for people. So, what do you make of the fact that unlike last year, we have 7 quarterbacks coming to media day, which I think is fascinating because a year ago, I think we only had maybe 1. This year we had offensive line. It's not a good sign whenever you have offensive linemen coming. I mean, no shade to the big fellas, but I think it says something when you start getting more offensive linemen than quarterbacks coming to represent your team for the upcoming year. What do you make of the 7 quarterbacks that we got this year?
Well, I think last year, a lot of teams were really trying to find themselves offensively, especially at the quarterback position. We talked to a lot of coaches, and they said that their QB competition were going to run through the early part of the fall preseason practices. Now, I think what you have in 7 coming up, basically, these guys, through their coaches' eyes, are certainly proven, and they deserve to have a spot. Of course, when it comes to, college, really athletics just in general for football, when you look at one of the most important positions, it is the quarterback position, and they're looking at things from a leadership standpoint. So, you get a chance to really, really talk to a handful of guys who hope to lead their team to some sort of championship this upcoming year, or be in a running for the championship. And of course, the play calling and the changing up at the line or whatever will all start with them. So I think it'll be quite interesting to have this many, because I think in all the years I've been here, I don't remember ever this many coming to the fold. One, of course, definitely going to be interested in talking to Andrew Body, going to be interested in talking to the Jack State quarterback. But another quarterback I'm really, really interested to kind of hear from is going to be Cam McCoy at Texas Southern. Remember now, this is his 3rd stop. He started at Jackson State, and then he got to Southern. Now he's at Texas Southern. So, is this going to be a 3rd time as a charm type thing? And, of course, what did the coaching staff see from them playing him last year, because he actually came in the second half and played majority of the game against Texas Southern? What did they see to be like, that's our guy, we need to bring him from Baton Rouge to Houston now? And what sort of confidence do they have in him moving forward?
Right there in your backyard, you got an interesting quarterback. The one of all the quarterbacks, I'm most interested to talk to Quad Brown, as he's called, Cornelius Brown IV, who is in his 8th year. I'm just fascinated by his story, just to kind of hear his maturation through college, how many degrees does he have now? Just all of it. I mean, that's got to be a lot to be, and I hope it doesn't sound disrespectful to be a career college quarterback. I mean, 8 years, that's 2 terms, so I'm fascinated to talk to him. You got him in the backyard right there in Huntsville. And I think the success for Alabama A&M in the second year for Sam Shade is going to depend on, can he finish the season healthy?
Correct. That is the big statement that's revolving around Alabama A&M football. Can Quad Brown stay healthy? I mean, when he was healthy last year, you did see him do some good things. Of course, he got SWAC player, I think co-player of the week against Alcorn. Then he got another player of the week when he Alabama A&M on the road to Nashville to defeat Tennessee State. But then, he gets nicked up or whatever. He doesn't play in the Lane game. He gets nicked up again against Jackson State. And then really they had to shut him down for the year with the hope that, okay, maybe he might be able to get a medical red shirt or whatever for this final year. So I really do think that it's going to be on the shoulders of him. And if he just eventually can't go or whatever, I'll go fingers crossed in this space or whatever. Hopefully whoever's right behind him will be ready to roll. But if he can stay healthy, then Alabama A&M will be in a lot of games. And if we go off the Sam Shade situation, I think Coach Shade will truly tell you that last year was just not a year he would be proud of in any way, shape, or form. Yes, his team had a lot of injuries, had a lot of young players or whatever. Now they're basically scratching those excuses out the way and saying, now we know what we need to do. He recruited well on the interior. He got some good linebackers in the mix this past year, and also some good playmakers offensively. So that'll certainly help them in the fold. And I think for them, their schedule works out well for the most part in early stance to where they can literally get a lot of confidence moving forward. And then, we'll just kind of see just see how things go from that. And of course, if you remember the last coaching stint he had, the first year at Miles, kind of the same way. Lots of injuries or whatever. They end up going 1-10, but they had that game against Tuskegee, took them to like double overtime. Remember, Tuskegee was going to the SIAC championship the next week. Like I said, they took them to double overtime the next year. They ended up turning around and, winning a lot of games, get down to the last 2 weeks. They needed to win something in halves or whatever, and some other things or whatever didn't go their way. And then the following year, they win the SIAC championship. Can that be repeated here in Huntsville? Don't know as of yet, but understanding that Coach Shade's been there before, he'll definitely have a better team than what he had last year rolling into this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great points. I was thinking about that as well. I'm telling you, I just think I want everybody in the SWAC, just say a prayer for great health for Quad Brown, because I think it'll be a great, I don't care, look, I would love for Alabama A&M to be good, except when they play FAMU, but I want him to be able to get 10 games, play the whole season. I would love, I think it would be a great story for him to play this final year of college and be able to get through the entire year. So I think it'd be a great story. Let's talk about your alma mater, Mo. The Marshall Faulk era begins, man. You heard Kelvin in the last segment. I mean, I did not expect that from Kelvin to say he thinks Southern as the dark horse, because I don't think a lot of people have expectations. But what are you hearing on the bluff about the Marshall Faulk era coming out of spring and the men he's assembled to help lead this team? How far can Southern go this year?
So I've been saying this the entire time ever since there was the I won't say rumors, but like we knew he was about to be hired, but he had not been officially hired. But I went ahead and gave my comments saying, hey, I think it's going to be a great hire, depending on what his assistance looks like. And I think Coach Curtis Johnson has been doing a phenomenal job. For people who don't know who Curtis Johnson is the guy that recruited Marshall Faulk to San Diego State. And we know how that history went. He's also the guy that recruited the Gulf Coast, the I-10 corridor in Louisiana for the return of the U in the late 90s and early 2000s. You may have heard of some guys like Ed Reed and Reggie Wayne that made their way from the New Orleans metro area down to Coral Gables, down there. So it goes to show you this guy knows how to work with some great talent. Of course, Marcus Colston was his top receiver with the New Orleans Saints on their Super Bowl run. So I think he's done well by hiring some great assistants. I know Ben Miles, the son of Coach Les Miles, has been doing a good job on the recruiting standpoint as well. What I'm more interested just to see, though, is that how will this Southern team be able to just go through the grind of this season? And what I say by that is that their away schedule may be the hardest away schedule for any team at all of Division I. Of course, they're playing in Birmingham against Alabama State. Yes, neutral site, I get it, but it's still an away game because Montgomery's only an hour and 15 minutes away from Birmingham. There's also 3 trips to the city of Houston. You're going to play the University of Houston in a money game. You play Prairie View, and you play Texas Southern in back-to-back weeks. You go to Jackson State. You go to Florida A&M. So I just have to see how this team is going to be able to react when they play basically some of their toughest opponents on the road. Officially, I think they can win at least 6 games with them at least stealing one of those home games. But if they're able to build some more confidence out the mix or whatever, who knows? But, of course, I'm going to be proud of my alma mater one way or the other. Heck, who in the world would have thought we would have went into the Superdome last year and beat Grambling in the Bayou Classic? Like, I'm not a betting man, but if that was the one time I ever wanted to bet on a team, that probably would have been the time. And I'm not exactly sure I would have still even bet on Southern in that faction. So, but as far as what I'm hearing and seeing with Coach Falk, I got a chance to check him out for the spring game because it was on Easter weekend, so I went down, visited the family. I mean, he's got some guys that are competing. He's got a tight end that's like 6'7", 8-ish or whatever, so he can win a lot of 50-50 balls. He's also got some pretty good receivers, and they recruited well following spring with 2 good transfer QBs, including a QB from a JUCO who led his team all the way to the national championship game. And also, Trey Holly's back. So I think with Trey Holly coming back, that's also going to help whoever the QB is going to be. And, of course, hey, Marshall Faulk's your head coach. You know good and well Trey Holly's going to get the touches that he needs to, kind of win. I just want to see what type of competitiveness this team is going to have moving forward. And as I mentioned, I think 6-7 and 600 wins, but y'all know what I'm getting. I think that's something that is achievable or whatever. But clearly, it's going to be something that I'm going to have to literally watch, week by week. But there is some excitement, so that's a really, really good thing. But yeah, they may also be a team that may cause a team or two to have a hiccup and throw them off when it comes to the running for division titles this year. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely will. I was thinking about the. Oh man, I just drew a blank. I had it in my head. I'll come back to it. Storylines. What other main storylines are you most interested in finding out about or chasing at Media Day?
So one of the biggest storylines I'm looking forward to just seeing and hearing will be from Dr. Charles McCullough, the commissioner. I want to know what was the final tally for minutes watched on SWAC TV. And the reason why I say that, of course, I was the talent for SWAC TV for football, basketball, and track and field. And I know by the time we got to the I think it was the tennis tournament or the golf tournament, one of the two, they were at like 54, 55 million minutes watched, still with a number of events left to go in the month of May. So I'm wondering if they were able to hit the 60 million minute threshold. Very interested to see that. Also, what type of expansion can we see from SWAC TV? I know there had been talk from the commissioner himself about getting it as a Roku channel coming up in the future. Did they do enough to actually make it happen for this upcoming year? We'll have to find out coming up soon. Speaking of SWAC TV, I was texting you earlier about this. In the past, there's been split coverage. There's been so much coverage on ESPN Plus and then so much coverage on SWAC Digital Network, a.k.a. what became SWAC TV. this year, SWAC Media Day is exclusively on SWAC TV. So clearly that is making a statement for the channel itself with the conference moving forward. So that's something I want all of our all of your listeners and your watchers to kind of just ponder, like, hey, we have now got to that point where literally the conference's media entity is definitely holding down the spot for what's going down this upcoming week. And then I'm also interested to hear what like John Grant's going to say in addition to the to the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl, which is brought to you by Toyota. I want to make sure I got all that.
Presented by Toyota, Mo.
Okay. I'm interested to see what else he has to say, because I remember he was on, I can't remember, he's either on Dr. Gaville or he was on Carlos Brown not too long ago, and it was like, I can tell you so much, but there's still so much more to go or whatever once we sign on the dotted line on some things. So I'm interested to see what more he has to say with that, especially from a personal standpoint, because Alabama A&M will be playing in the MEAC SWAC Challenge during week 0 this upcoming year. And really after that, it's going to just be, hey, what did the SID and the coaches think when it comes to the preseason polls and the predicted order of finish?
Yeah. The SWAC TV expansion, I'm interested to see what improvements to the app there are. For example, will there be a multi-view setting? Because I think we would all love to be able to put a quad box or
for SWAC TV,
so that we can can watch.
I want to cut you off real quick. I can tell you that was something that was discussed among a bunch of people with with SWAC TV, and that was something that was okay. We're definitely putting this in the works for the off season. So I'm not going to say I guarantee you that's about to happen, but I know for sure that was going to be one of the things that they wanted to make sure they could probably implement going from year 1 to year 2. Of course, expansion of bandwidth is another thing. So, people aren't watching a circle in the middle of their screen or whatever. I do know that's something else. But yeah, the multi-view or whatever is something that was discussed by many. And I know for sure that it's something that is being worked on. So I hope to hear him talk about that as well.
Yeah, he always manages to drop some big nugget on media day. I mean, there will be a big nugget. I think my guy Kelvin had asked the question, well, with the fact that it's not on ESPN, because we had Jay and Tiffany, they obviously were ESPN. Who will be the host?
That is a very good question. I imagine that more than likely my good friend Tolly Carr will probably be in the mix. I texted him over the weekend and asked him if he was going to be in Birmingham. He said, absolutely, man, looking forward to seeing you or whatever. So I would imagine that he probably be in the mix, maybe our good guy Santoria Black as well. So now, look, I'm not outruling Jay and Tiffany not being there, but at the same time, they're there. They're usually there because of ESPN. I don't know the inner workings of how this would happen in a space or whatever. So I don't really want to say, they will or they will not be there. You have to go in and just have to tune in.
Well, and obviously, because you haven't tipped your hand, it won't be you. You won't be co-hosting.
No, I will not be co-hosting. I will not. Look, okay. I would love to, because that's another check or whatever. But at the same time, I actually do have to be there for work. Covering the Bama teams, and then probably helping out some of our sister stations that may need some help from a couple of other squads. And then on top of that, Kelvin was talking about the Alcorn North Alabama game. Well, of course, North Alabama is here in my viewing area. So clearly I'm going to ask Coach Said about, the opportunity to come and face them in their in the opening of their new stadium, which I know for sure there's a lot of people excited about. I've talked to the AD and the assistant AD. They're looking forward to it. They're also looking forward to bringing Alcorn in the mix. I know there were still conversations about a month ago trying to figure out where they wanted to place the band and everything else and whatnot, because it'll be the first event of any kind in that new Bank Independent Stadium. So and the fact that they selected Alcorn for that day was because that was literally the earliest day that stadium could actually be available. Reason why I say that, UNA is actually playing a game here in Huntsville week 0 against Sanford at Joe Davis Stadium, where the soccer team plays, because the new stadium would not have been available at that point in time.
I'll come back to SWAC. Well, you brought up something regarding week 0, and I'll come back to my thought or question regarding SWAC TV.
Mm-hmm.
But week 0, the fact that Alabama A&M is playing Howard week 0, when you talked about, and John Grant has been very open on our show and other shows when asked this question, but we went from having one game, and I think Drew charted this out, where we had one game on week 0, and we would all be there in Atlanta. Well, this year you have 21 games. So it's like you'll be in Atlanta, but unlike me, where I would normally be in Atlanta for that game, I will be in Tallahassee. There will be people who will be in Nashville. There will people be in, because we have 20 HBCU games going on week 0. I'm not going to ask you about what do you think about the week 0 thing, but as it relates to Alabama A&M, has anybody over at Alabama A&M kind of talked about, hey, we went from, and they will be the feature game because it's a 7:30 on linear TV, ABC, but
Correct.
You used to be the standalone game. Now you are the end of a great day of college football. Like, let's not underscore that. It's going to be a great day in college football regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be just you were the main ticket. Now you are like the you're the last meal or the dessert of the day, I guess. Anybody from A&M or have any thoughts on that? Or
Well, the A&M people have been very excited ever since they announced this like a year and a half ago, first and foremost. So, and on top of that, the fact that Alabama A&M is playing a game on ABC, I think Wayne Cartwright said that's something that's been charted. That has not happened in like 3 decades or something like that, maybe longer. I'll have to go back and double check with them, but I know it has certainly been a minute. Because even the last time they played on the MEAC SWAC Challenge, that's when the MEAC SWAC Challenge was, just a strict ESPN2 thing, several years ago. But no, a lot of folks are excited about it. The Alumni Association in Atlanta for Alabama A&M, they're hosting a number of events on Thursday and Friday. I've seen that come across my social media. And then, of course, I know Dr. Paul Bryan, the athletic director, he has been really, really pumping it up and holding it down for, just making sure that Alabama A&M is well represented in the city of Atlanta, not just from an athletic standpoint, but also, of course, for an academic standpoint as well, because Atlanta's only 3 hours and some change from Huntsville. So, there's a number of kids that come over from Atlanta and North Georgia to attend Alabama A&M University, especially since A&M is in a situation where I think now they'll be the 4th year in a row where they have now reached a record of attendance for freshmen and overall, just in general. So, they are definitely doing a good job retention-wise, with their students, just in general. But no, there's a lot of excitement about it. I got a chance to talk to Sam Shade at this camp a few weeks ago, and he was like, man, as soon as we wrapped up spring, we took like a few days off, and after that, start focusing on Howard, which is a challenge because Howard does have a new coach or whatever. Luckily, Coach Shea said he knows him from a number of years back or whatever. So he's going off of, hey, this is what he's done philosophy-wise, and this is what he's done at different places, and they'll try to just kind of, go off of that when it comes to preparation. But as we say, MEAC SWAC Challenge, it is literally coming up. Yes, I do know week 0 now has more games than ever. I think 11 out of the 12 SWAC schools are playing. I think Bethune-Cookman's the only team not playing during week 0. But that's just kind of the new facet that we have in the NCAA, with FCS teams now being able to truly not have to get a waiver to play in week 0. And hey, a team like Alabama A&M, they're using that to their advantage because, they're getting a nationally televised game. And then you look at it, Alabama A&M's, I think, I should know that. They got 6 home games, because of the way everything worked out or whatever with the way schedules kind of roll too. So, they have 6 home games. And why do I know that? Because I have 6 Alabama A&M games from SWAC TV.
It's on the calendar. Oh, okay. So you're doing all of those. You're doing all of those games on SWAC TV.
I do have all of their home games on SWAC TV. Combination of course, from a travel standpoint, but also HBCU Go and ESPN family of networks taking a bunch of Alabama State and Jackson State games. So that's kind of how all that parlayed in that fashion. So I won't have to be taking too many long trips this year.
Nice. Coming back to the SWAC TV thing, I know we had last year in the first year, not every school was all in with all games. I think this year, by some of the teams that I saw on the SWAC TV schedule, hosting games on SWAC TV, I got the impression, and I'm getting the impression, that you won't see that blackout that you used to see in the past, where I think more schools or all the schools will be all in. So I guess that's one of the things I'm hoping to see, that ability to help the other institutions get up to par, because we know which schools were able to and did and which schools weren't. So I'm hoping that we see that as one of the big things for this upcoming year, you know?
Yo, absolutely. I'll say this. That's also been a conversation that has been had with the SWAC administrators and the athletic directors, more so not really with football, but like with your other sports that you have, primarily because, you know, there are some schools that are just equipped in perfect manners to make your broadcast look like it's something. I'll go ahead and just say this. You know, if you've ever looked at an Alabama A&M basketball game, looks like the NBA on NBC, because there's the LED lighting. You have the cameras calibrated to the correct focus and everything or whatever. But here's the thing, that building was built for that.
Yes.
The equipment it came in for that. So yes, Alabama A&M is, you know, looking pretty good or whatever with that. But because of the way production companies or whatever go and whatnot, the conference has found a way to, you know, basically instruct the production companies, or kind of give instructions or whatever, like, hey, this is the look we really want to go with. And I think that's something you're going to try to see be better enhanced. I know that some schools have it a little bit better than others or whatever, but also, you know, I'll say, you know, shout out to some of the production companies I got a chance to work with over these last couple of years. And I mean, they're trying to make a way. It's just a matter of just trying to get some things going. And I know for sure the conference administration, they want to have a specific look, you know, from top to bottom. And of course, you don't fix that from day one to day two. It just takes time. But I will say this, you know, from some of the companies I've had a chance to work with, yes, the looks may look a little different, but as long as they're looking pristine and prestigious, you know, I'm A-okay in that space. For football, I think what happened was we had situations where some of the folks from a production standpoint got spread real thin or whatever, and that just kind of just showed that, okay, hey, we may need to hire a third party to come in and do this, and another whatever to come in to do this. I had a chance to work with a number of crews last year, and of course, as we went through the year, it turned out great. I mean, some people I knew, you know, from years past, others were new in the mix, but it was still all good in the focus. I know, like a couple of A&M games I had this year, it was with Broadway Communications. They're the media company that does all the Alabama High School Athletic Association state championship games. So, you know, they always have a specific look when it comes to a lot of things. So hopefully, you know, you'll have a good jump when it comes to broadcast improvement from year one to year two. If not, we'll all be on a big old Zoom call with some folks from the office in Birmingham saying, what do we need to do to make this look better?
Hey, I will say this with you here, because I don't think I have had a chance to give you your flowers, you and Coach Pedway and your production team who does the basketball, but you guys are you're the chef's kiss. You are the standard. If I was giving out awards for best production broadcast across the SWAC for any and all athletic events, watching your broadcast and production of Alabama A&M basketball games was on point. And I'm talking pregame, commercial breaks, halftime. You know, you guys, you and Coach Pedway are a fun listen. You know, and it's so from you guys to the production and everything that goes on, man. Props to you guys. I really enjoy it. And that's the standard, in my opinion, that everybody should be striving for. And there are a few schools who are at it, who are hitting it, but a lot who aren't. And I would hope that is what we should all be getting from like when we go to hit that SWAC TV button and go to watch college basketball games, that's what we should be watching. So I'm just gonna say that and leave it there.
Hey, thank you, man. We do appreciate it. But like I said, shout out to Daniel and his production crew, because, I mean, they really, really make some things work. Because, look, we've had some hiccups as well. You know, This will be my 4th year doing basketball for Alabama A&M, if the Lord says the same, and, you know, how all that goes in that space. But, you know, we've had some hiccups or whatever, especially when you moved into the new building. Oh, yeah. And eventually we got through it or whatever. And even doing the things makes it better. Perfect example. Coach and I got a brand new audio box before the season this past year. And I mean, not only was the audio able to like give us a crisp sound, it also gave me a talk back option. It gave me an option to be like, hey, during the timeout, all right, guys, we're coming back 20 seconds early. Hey, there's a shot here, this person. Hey, Dr. McClellan is in the building. Look for him, you know, like us having that talk back ability with them in the control room and then the camera guys, that worked wonders, you know, overall. And it's like I say, it's just literally the little things. And Daniel, you know, the production manager for Alabama A&M's event center, he literally was just like, hey, I just saw a need for a change and we want to see how it was going to go. They would say if it didn't work, they were going to send it back. It was going to be the old one. So I was fine in that space. But nah, man, it certainly works. And of course, you know, you can get the good countdowns and the talkbacks and just, you know, just all sorts of things. So, yeah, you know, like I said, kudos to them for keeping it going. But also, like I said, around the SWAC, I mean, there's a lot of good things happening, especially with the production companies. I just hope that, you know, everybody's able to get on one accord. Some schools you do have to tie into what they do. Other schools you're able to like kind of bring some outside entities into the mix. I mean, I know like James Crenshaw and his Lighthouse production crew, they do a phenomenal job. And you know, James be all over the country.
He's everywhere. Yeah, he's everywhere,
man. But no, he does a spectacular job or whatever with that. He and Roosevelt and you know all those other guys that he has with the crew. So I think, you know, after we saw what happened during this past academic year, I think we'll have nothing but enhancements across the board especially for the schools that may not be able to do it collectively on their own, but then they're able to still work together with an outside entity to make it still look good.
Yeah, well, I think every school has to realize the resource that you have and that you can publicize coaches' shows, you can publicize little features and things. There's a lot of opportunities and things that you can feature on SWAC TV. So hopefully we get that this fall. Hopefully we get more produced coaches shows that are available on SWAC TV, that post-game press conferences, those kind of things are available. I mean, there's a plethora of opportunities that every school can add to the box.
Yes.
To help increase those minutes viewed, which comes to the advertising dollars. It's a trickle-down effect. But, you know, you got to be able to sometimes, Mo, you got to reach out to, you know, your mass comm students, your upperclassmen, the ones who need that training. I mean, you got it all at the front doorstep. A university that's what it's there for, right?
No, without a doubt. And here's the thing. I'm going to say this nicely. It varies from school to school. It really, really does. What I mean by that is like here at Alabama A&M, you know, we do have some students that are working behind the scenes with the sports information department who also help out with production. But also at the same time, if you watch this past year, our sideline reporters were 2 students. We had a young lady for the women's game, and we had a guy for the men's game. So, you know, those were students or whatever. Grambling had an all-student staff.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, did they have the hiccups early on? Absolutely. Did they have the growing pains early on? Absolutely. But eventually things came to fruition. I know Jackson State and Rob J. I know, you know, Rob J was doing everything on the front side, but he had students behind the scenes or whatever going with it. So, like I said, it varies from school to school. It's just a matter of the want and the buy-in. You know, you got to want to do it, but also you have to buy into what's going on or whatever with that. And I don't want people to be like, oh, you want to point the finger here. I'm keeping it real. Like there has to be a want and a buy-in. That's why it varies from school to school. And hopefully seeing what SWAC TV is doing now, I'm really, really hoping that it's going to, spread across all 12 schools collectively. Oh, I got to also say Alabama State did a pretty good job with their students behind the scene too. I got to throw that into the mix too.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Mo. Hey, let's wrap it up with kind of just our predictions here. And let me see. Somebody told me I was confusing Kelvin earlier when I asked this question. So I'm not going to ask you for your predictions. I want you to step into what do you think the voters, okay, the SIDs and the coaches, they're the ones who come out with the preseason predicted order of finish. What do you think that will look like from them?
Do you want it from top to bottom?
No, you give me top 2 or 3, whatever, from the East and the West. You got to go down the whole list.
I'll give you the top teams. I'll start in the West. I still think that Tremaine Jackson and company are the bell cow in the West as the top team. They've got a chip on their shoulder after falling in multiple overtimes at the Celebration Bowl. So I've still got them in the mix. And, of course, last year I had a game with him, and he told me that, he's changing the culture. He's changing this. He's changing that. And he also said they ain't got no gummy bears around there. And I'm like, what the heck is a gummy bear? And he was like, man, we ain't soft around here. I'm like, oh, okay. So
gummy bears. I should have some gummy bears at the table for coach.
We ain't soft. So I was like, wow, okay. So when you got a guy running a program like that, you have to kind of see them through with that. So honestly, I think the 2 Texas schools are going to be the top 2 in the West, making the Labor Day Classic at 12 p.m., 11 a.m. Central during week 1. Much more important than what has probably ever been collectively between those 2 teams. Because if you think about it, last year, remember we're I don't want to say a Hail Mary because I think it was only like a 35-yard touchdown pass. But, we are literally
last play of the game.
Yeah, a last play game-winning touchdown throw away from the thing being all switched up in the West last year, if you think about it. So I think that in the West, it'll be those 2 in the mix. In the East, I'm seeing Bama State and Jackson State. If anything, it's the way I tell you, man, the schedule makers did everybody a favor. Because the way the schedule is, November 14th, Jackson State goes to Alabama State. Could be a de facto East Division championship, possibly. The following week, Prairie View comes to Alabama State.
Ooh.
I have a feeling between those 2 weeks, you will either see a division clinch or you may see games where the home field advantage may be up for grabs or thrown in the loop or thrown in the mix in another way, shape, or form. And this is a hypothetical or whatever. So here's your hypothetical. Let's say Alabama State beats Jackson State. Alabama State is still undefeated. Prairie View has 1 loss to somebody. Prairie View goes to Alabama State, beats Alabama State in their SWAC finale. If Prairie View and Alabama State both have 1 loss, guess who gets the home field advantage? Prairie View will get it because of that head-to-head in the final week of their matchups. So you got to look at how the importance of those things will go into the fold. But, I really do think those last 2 weeks, the 14th and the 21st, will be very important for division titles collectively. Of course, if you're Alabama State, you still got to do if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. You'll have an opportunity to face Jackson State, for that. It's a situation. So everything for Alabama State is really out there in front of them. They just got to literally just handle their business. And I don't want to say dark horse, but your alma mater, Florida A&M, I'm intrigued on how the season will go because I know Coach Gray, inheriting a team that's got an APR issue with no postseason and no Celebration Bowl, at-large bid to the FCS playoffs if ever came down to that. So how big of a chip on their shoulder is that? Like, I really, really want to know how big of a chip on their shoulder is going to be because I've seen a previous article saying that, what did they say? Saying that, like, he didn't really lose a lot of guys because of that. They're going to play for the pride of Florida A&M. So I'm interested to see, How will they play spoiler in the East? I'm very interested to see how that will go. And, of course, you'll get a firsthand experience, with what you do and the good work that you do for the guys that rock the green and the orange. So, but that's a question I really, really am intrigued about it. So, but, yeah, coming out the West, you two Texas schools, and coming out the East, I see it's a battle between Bama State and Jackson State.
Wow. Good. Look, I'm fascinated with trying to find a key question for each school, because I think when you look at these media days and you're doing your notes, you're going through and say, okay, what is that one big question that if this school can answer that one big question, right, it will determine what kind of season they have. And then the other thing is looking at those home and road games, the fact that you mentioned how hard Southern's road trips are, how advantageous Alabama State has at home against their, who they have at home. I mean, they got their two toughest opponents in the East at home, plus they got Prairie View at home. I mean, that's a big advantage for Bama State in a year where, look, they won 10. They're going to look to equal that, maybe even see if they can pull off 11 this upcoming year. So
correct. And also, here's the other thing too. With Eddie, you mentioned the state of Alabama. Of course, you still do have two neutral site games in Birmingham. Which
that's right. Yeah.
You have two neutral site games in Birmingham with Southern at the beginning of the season, and of course the Magic City Classic. So, and I'm pretty sure after Alabama A&M got throttled the way they did last year against Alabama State, I'm pretty sure the Bulldogs are definitely going to be out for revenge, which could be making for a potential epic game down at Legion Field. We'll see how all that goes down. But yeah, for Alabama State, a lot of things are in front of them. It's just a matter of, can you do the put up or shut up type situation moving forward for Coach Eddie Robertson Jr. and company.
How many? One last question here, Mo. Kelvin brought this up. What do you think the attendance will be? I mean, we set the line at, he thought 50. I said I'd be surprised it'd be 30. What do you think the attendance might be for that opening game?
I think paid attendance you'll see somewhere between like 25 and 30. And the only reason why I'm even saying that is because it's a 3 p.m. kickoff, and we're talking about the middle of August in the state of Alabama. Ooh. So that's why I think it'll probably be somewhere in that 25 to 30 range. I would love for it to be more, but I'm also just being a realist as far as like knowing how hot and humid it is here in the state that I work in. And I've been living here for how many years I've been here now? We're in 2016. I've been here 13 years. So, it's pretty, it's pretty hot. I've always just got used to it because, of course, grew up in South Louisiana, so you have an extra version of humidity going on over there or whatever. But also, I'll tell you this. So 2007, my junior year at Southern University, we played Florida A&M in the MEAC SWAC Challenge in Legion Field at 2 p.m. And that was by far one of the hottest games I've ever been a part of, just in general. And that was
which year was that? I think I was at that game.
2007.
I was at that game. I remember going to that game. That was a MEAC SWAC challenge game, wasn't it?
Correct. The MEAC SWAC challenge on the day before Labor Day, back when MEAC SWAC was in Birmingham. And that kickoff was like at 2:00, and it was one of the hottest games I've ever been a part of in my life. And like I said, I just know what that Birmingham heat feels like coming into Legion Field. That's why, Kelvin, look, I'd love to say that there'll be a whole lot of the people that you're talking about. I really think it's going to be more in that 25 to 30 range or whatever. And then there'll probably just be a lot of people that'll just have their, eyeballs on the television set just that day as well. So that's what I think it's really going to be. And it's just because, like I said, it's because of the Alabama heat or whatever. If you exceed me or whatever from those crowd numbers, then hey, so be it or whatever. But also, I understand people will pick their health over certain things too if they don't remain as hydrated as they need to remain, especially in the latter part of the summer.
Exactly. Hydrate up, folks. So we look forward to seeing. It's going to be a busy week 0. Looking forward to seeing that. Mo, man, I appreciate all your time this evening. You got a show tonight that you're doing?
Yes, sir. I will
right.
be on air in about an hour and a half for our 9 p.m. newscast, and then right after we'll be in the mix for our Sunday night sports show, 554 Sports Extra. So, look, if y'all want to check it out or whatever, you can always download the 554 app, or you want to go to 554.com and hit watch live. You can see me in about an hour and a half time, just in general. But in the meantime, hey, Bryan, always appreciate you, man. And look, the fact that we're talking about football lets me know that our favorite time of the year is literally right around the corner.
Man, I needed this, man, because I'm telling you, it's been a tough day, and I was debating on if I was going to do the show, but man, after talking to you and Kelvin and Kris, man, I'm fired up for football, man. I'm excited about this week again, and it's upcoming football. So I look forward to seeing you up in Birmingham, man. See you on Wednesday.
Absolutely. And hey, for everybody in the chat, appreciate all you guys' input and whatnot, and everybody that said, hey, I do a great job. Thank y'all so much. Just using that Southern University education to make everybody proud in every way, shape, or form. But of course, it's all about team efforts, and this business is all about who you know. So clearly, I know Bryan, I know Dr. Cavill, I know this, we all work together collectively because we have a true respect for one another. And as we continue to build that up, I think that's just going to continue to make, shows like this and inside the HBCU Sports Lab and Carlos Bryan. I think all those things are going to, come to resonate and be very fluid moving forward. And somehow, some way, I'm very interested to see how Roy Evans is going to fit like 20 people on a camera at some point in time. Because he's going to want to do it. He's going to want to do it at some point in time. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to go. But I'll leave that creative genius to the man in charge.
Oh, man, Mo, you're killing my dog. All right, Mo, but Gene, look, I tell you wrong if you're wrong. But all right, Mo, appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. Have a good one, Bryan. Safe travels. I'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you, man. Have a good show tonight. I'll talk at you later.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Mo Carter. Y'all make sure to check out Mo tonight. Fox 54, Huntsville, Alabama. And just to kind of answer a couple questions. Yes, EA. So, yes, you can watch the Black College Sports Network coverage on YouTube, My JBN Online, or on Facebook, Black College Sports Network. And you can also watch on SWAC TV. You can watch the interviews as well, because like I said, I can tell you what is guaranteed on SWAC TV is that all 12 coaches and players will get TV time. We, unfortunately, have never been fortunate enough to get all 12. We've gotten maybe 9 or 10, but there's always 1 or 2 coaches that just the scheduling and the time doesn't work out. So I'm, it is what it is. So we'll have administrators, because, we like to talk to the athletic directors as well, which that part is the part that usually you don't see on the stage. Usually the stage is for coaches and the players, but we always love talking to the administrators. So we'll definitely have some administrators from the schools. And maybe that's the one thing that kind of sets apart our broadcast a little bit from the live SWAC TV broadcast, is that we will have the administrators. We'll have anybody from Ashley Robinson, Jason Cable. I mean, a lot of these names that Paul Bryant, they're, people that, we interact with, and maybe even some new administrators that we haven't met or talked to before. So we always get them. They provide a fascinating angle and a viewpoint as to some of the things that they're doing to help promote not only their athletic programs, but their athletic departments. So I always enjoy those opportunities that we get to talk to them, and then we'll get to talk to players and coaches. It really is a team effort, and all of the various shows will be there. The Carlos Brown show, if you were listening to Carlos yesterday, right here on the network, Carlos Brown will be there. I know, well, Charles Edmond will be there, but Charles, he's doing something. He is always in the radio room, for Alcorn State Sports. So Charles Edmond will be there, but he'll be covering it the SWAC Media Day from an Alcorn State perspective. And I think last year I did see Coach Pedway. I don't know if he'll be there this year, but he was there last year. And then obviously Dr. Kenyatta Cavill will be there. Charles Bishop is usually there. Mike Washington is usually there. You'll also see Kelvin Rozier from the ONG with me, my co-host. AD Drew, my other co-host on this show, will be there as well. So, jokingly, when we talk about how many guys will be on a set, the question is how many mics will Roy be able to get, but we'll see. So, but I know when we do have teams and guests on, somebody said we had like 8 people on. No, it won't be 8. Max, it'll be 4 or 5, maybe. But but anyway, encourage you to tune in and check us out. We appreciate all of the coverage, and we do interact with you guys, So, I mean, that's one of the things that I think I like about what we do with our coverage as well. Let me see, just kind of taking a look at anything in the chat that I missed, any comments or whatever. Adrian Crook, I know you wishing on our demise. You wish that we would go 0-12, but it's not happening, brother. These wins that FAMU will get this year will actually count. And like Mo said, we will be playing spoiler. Our games do affect the standings. Don't mess around and let FAMU win the East, because whoever finishes second, well, that's who represent the East. So I'm just saying that's how it's set up. So I can't wait to see how frustrated many of you will be in late October, early November. I'm just putting it out there. You heard Mo talk about his dark horse. He said his dark horse for Florida A&M. I'm glad he said it because, I was going to say it, but if I say it, you guys are like, oh, Bryan, we're just rocking with your orange and green glasses on. So, okay. But Mo said it. That's what he said. So, okay. Appreciate you, Edwin, for recognizing, that, even after the coverage is over, there's always some late discussion stuff. So appreciate you, Edwin. Appreciate you recognizing and shouting us out with that. Co-pilot said, I wanted to pick JSU too. I can't bring it's not that I don't want to pick JSU. Look, I think it'll be a 1A, 1B situation again between JSU and Alabama State. And my preseason favorite to start the year, number one, will be the team that has the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. And if he plays the full 10, 12 games, he will repeat as SWAC Player of the Year. He was the best quarterback in the league last year. He'll do it again. So we'll see. Fascinating. Who do you guys, let's do a quick roll call. You guys tell me, who is your preseason East and West number one team? Only give me the number one. One in the East, one in the West. Who is your preseason favorite? East and West. I do think it'll be a coin toss between Jackson State and Alabama State in the East. I would not even be surprised if the votes come out even Steven. Won't be surprised either way. Won't be surprised if they give it to Jackson State, if the votes work out in their favor. Won't be surprised if it works out in favor of Alabama State. I just think, given the fact that usually this is a vote that is taken by the SIDs and the coaches. And they usually, knowing what they know, and again, knowing what they know, okay, they know what Alabama State has coming back. They know what Jackson State has been, and they do have a returning quarterback. So it'll be there. The West will be interesting. Did Prairie View earn enough? I don't know if the respect is the right word, But did Prairie View earn enough credits to go into the prediction? I see a lot of people picking Texas Southern, which is fascinating from the standpoint of Prairie View has been in the SWAC championship game 3 of the last 5 years since expansion. If I'm not mistaken, 3 to 5 years. And if it wasn't them, it was Southern, right? And so, you know, I find picking Texas Southern is interesting. Hey, let week 1 tell me differently. Again, if they beat Prairie View week 1, okay, but it's still a long season after that, right? You still got a long season after that. But I see a lot of people picking Texas Southern. I mean, okay, see, that's kind of Adrian. I have no idea what you're talking about. Lost 2 national championships before 2023. Okay. Adrian, I have no idea what you're talking about. 3 national championships going. Anyway, you know, I get you. Alabama State will disappoint many of its fans next year. Well, we'll see. A lot of expectations. Southern and Jackson State, you know. Who will be the disappointing team? Like, you know, in terms of expectation. Like, I think the team that I'll give you 2 teams that I'm most fascinated by, and that's Bethune-Cookman and Grambling. I'm interested to see how much of a factor those teams are. Bethune-Cookman caught lightning in a bottle last year. They did have some experienced quarterback play. But it was also, I think, a year in which if Florida A&M was able to defend a Hail Mary on a 4th and 18, Bethune-Cookman might have a new coach this year, right? I think Bethune-Cookman winning the Florida Classic at the end of the year provided Coach Woody with an additional year. Now, what are they going to do with that, right? Is the program really trending in the right direction? And then for Grambling State, I was surprised Mickey Joseph came back for another year, to be honest with you. But okay, who is Grambling? What will Grambling be this year? UAPB is another interesting story. Coach Alonzo Hampton, great guy. But they haven't been able to really win those consecutive big games. You know, I mean, if you don't come and play your best, UAPB will hang around and they might beat you. But I don't know if UAPB has gotten over the hurdle yet. So I don't know, you know, 3 teams that you know, will 1 or 2 of those 3 teams be a spoiler? No telling. No telling this year. Of course, Andrew Body, Offensive Player of the Year. Cam Salas, the defensive back from Jackson State, was the Defensive Player of the Year, preseason Defensive Player of the Year. Israel said BCU will finish 5th or 6th in the East. Well, maybe so, Israel, but I'm telling you, you watch when the preseason polls come out. I will not be surprised if Bethune-Cookman is 4th. I'm just telling you. I will say that when I think about the predicting. So this is what I think the voters will do in the East. I think the voters in the East will select. You either going to get a tie for 1st and 2nd, Bama State, Jackson State, or you're going to get Bama State 1, Jackson State 2. Number 3, it might very well be Alabama A&M. I think 4, you're going to get Bethune-Cookman. 5, you're going to get Florida A&M. And 6, you're going to get Valley. And there will probably be somebody that will pick Valley to finish first. I've seen that happen the last 2 years. I don't know if it's a running joke by somebody, but somebody's going to pick Valley to finish first in the East. I'm guaranteed. Book it in there. Watch. Somebody will do it. Supposedly, you're not supposed to vote for yourself. We'll see. We'll see. Over on the West, I think they will select Prairie View first. You guys think Texas Southern? I think they're going to say Alcorn 2, and then Texas Southern 3. Then at that point, I don't know. They'll probably go Grambling, Southern, UAPB. That's what I think the voting will turn out like. Again, not my own personal selections, but how I think the SIDs and the coaches will vote. Again, that is who selects the preseason order of finish that comes out from the SWAC. That's what it'll look like. So just to kind of put that out there for you guys. And again, just a reminder, the CIAA, their football media day is also on Wednesday from Durham, North Carolina. And the CIAA Sports Network is the network that you can go to watch their live coverage. You can also follow our friend Kris Ferguson at D2KFerg. Kris will be in attendance and be offering up some good analysis and some thoughts there and some different questions, so on and so forth. And then, of course, you can have multiple TVs on. I don't know if you guys are still at work. You know, some of you, I'm off this summer, although I need to be finding something to do with my time, especially on a Monday with no World Cup soccer to watch. Definitely need to be doing something. But, if you're going to be doing multiple TVs and multiple windows, you got a couple different things that you could be doing on Wednesday to go from there. So, I don't know when if anybody in the chat knows, when is the Ohio Valley, where Tennessee State is, or the Ohio Valley Big South, and the CAA, when are those media days? Next week, we'll have the SIAC and the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference next week. So next week's show, we'll talk more SIAC, more MEAC. See if I can get one or both of the guys from the SIAC sit down. That's my guys, Sylvester Williams and Jamie Walker. See if we can get one or both of those guys to come on the show next Sunday, and kind of talk about the SIAC. Okay, thank you. Zach says, so this week, Friday is the OVC. Huh. That'll be interesting. I wonder if any media people attending the OVC will be asking Coach Barlow about the letter of no confidence, which has quietly been a story that really no one's really talking about. I heard somebody post, and I was somewhere in one of the chats for some show, and I forgot what show it was, but somebody said if Tennessee State were in an HBCU, we'd still that the noise surrounding that would still be going on. But I don't know. I mean, I don't hear anybody talking about it. I mean, 6 coaches sent a letter to the president of the university saying that they have no confidence in their boss. That's a huge story. Let's see, Zach says the CIAA is virtual, but not sure what the date is. Okay. Well, Friday makes so much more sense for FCS Media Days. Why do you say that, Kelvin? Jeff says, appreciate Jeff jumping in. The CAA is July 23rd and 24th virtual. Huh. Interesting. So next week we'll be talking about the CAA Hampton and North Carolina A&T, who, by the way, just to let folks know, okay, and I just want to clarify, although you don't see Hampton, Tennessee State, and North Carolina A&T in the inaugural preseason Black College Football poll, should their seasons turn out to be good enough to garner votes, they are part of this. So I don't, I know, let me see, I got a nice text reminder here that while the Black College Football poll is endorsed by all 4 NCAA HBCU conferences, it includes what HBCU fans and media refer to as independents as well. So, even though you don't see A&T in Hampton or Tennessee State, they are part of this. They could be a part of this, right? Good to see Timona. She loves thee. Timona, who's the preseason? Who is your preseason number 1 team in the East for Media Day? Now, again, let me rephrase because I know who you think is number 1, but who do you think the SIDs and coaches will vote? Because obviously, I know, Timona, you're going to say Jackson State preseason number 1, right? But who do you think the SIDs and coaches of the SWAC will list as number 1, which is always sometimes a little bit different. That's why I said it the way I said it. I know who you're voting for or who you think will be number 1 or who should be number 1. All right, see, that I love their honesty. Thank you. I love the honesty. Even she thinks that Alabama State will be picked. Now, I am on record as saying I will not be surprised if you see co-favorites in the East. I think it'll be it'll come down to probably 1 vote. It'll come down to 1 person who may view a difference between State and Jackson State. I think that is the toughest vote. So the margin is going to be very slim when you go and look at votes. Because if you don't have Jackson State 1, you damn sure better have them 2. And if you don't have Alabama State 1, you damn sure better have them 2. I'm sorry, miss me. Anybody who doesn't have those 2 as 1 and 2, well, I know whoever votes for Valley will be the deciding vote. I'm just telling you, whoever that person is. Let's see. Well, Edwin, I will tell you, I will again say that this is a Black college football. Just because they are not in an HBCU conference does not mean that they stop being Black college football teams. And I understand. You know what? It's so hard to picture this poll with a good A&T. We haven't seen a good A&T Hampton we had a good Tennessee State a couple years ago. But I think in the last 5 years since SWAC expansion or MEAC expansion or the loss of school, we haven't seen a good Hampton, haven't seen a good A&T, at least a team that is good enough to be continually voted into a top 10 poll week in and week out. Now, Tennessee State's run a couple years ago, the last year of Eddie George, was pretty doggone good, right? I understand. It's a great point. It was endorsed by conferences, and it can be confusing, but again, even though it's endorsed by all 4 NCAA, HBCU divisions, independents can be a part of the poll. So it is what it is, you know. Let's argue about all that when we do see a Hampton and North Carolina A&T team that is good enough to garner our attention. Right now, they're not there, but they might be. Just depends on what that original recipe is looking like in Greensboro. You know, they told me they working on it. You know, they said they getting back to the original recipe. Waiting to taste it, waiting to see. Love chicken, so we're waiting to see what it looks like, what it tastes like. Finger licking good? I don't know. You know, A&T did a great job with their season tickets. I saw that they hit the, was it 5 or let me see, here it is, reading an article right here on game day. North Carolina A&T sets season ticket record. The school says it sold more than 6,000 season tickets, a new record for Aggie football. And that announcement came with less than 2 months to go before the start of the season. Now, I find that to be interesting from a couple of perspectives, right? Truist Stadium seats roughly 21,000, according to the article here by Stephen Gaither. We have historically heard about the challenges of non-HBCU games or the attendance at non-HBCU games. But I will say, you know, if you love your school, you know, shouldn't you be there at all the games? Let me look at the A&T football schedule here. You know, they opened the season at Morgan State. Then they travel to North Carolina Central. They travel to Campbell. Let me see. Their home games consist of Morgan State, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Chicago State, Elon, and Albany. So that's what, 6 games? Oh, boy. I tell you what, that chicken better taste good, boy. I tell you what, because it's not sexy, but it's what you are and what you got. So if A&T football is good, and you know, they had apparently, you know, they did a good job of getting their famous alums, such as Bill Hayes, former administrator, Connell Maynor, former player, legend, MEAC Hall of Famer. He was a part of the drive. You know, that's good numbers. We like what we like. So, you know, we'll see. You know, one of the things, speaking of North Carolina, I see they play that game against Central. I saw a report North Carolina Central is, you know, speaking of schools that are receiving some funding, I know there was a report about Grambling receiving some extra funding from the state of Louisiana. North Carolina Central receiving some money from the state of North Carolina, both of which, I think both institutions, it was stated, or I read something about the fact that they'll be looking to upgrade some facilities potentially. I didn't know North Carolina Central had 9,000 students. 9,000 students at North Carolina Central is like a record right now. And then, of course, there's an article about Texas Southern. Texas Southern University planning a football stadium, a new football stadium in a $1.7 billion, that's right, billion with a B, campus overhaul. So according to the article here I'm reading on HBCU Sports, the university officials say the proposed stadium, part of a broader relocation of track and field facilities, would seat approximately 10,000 fans and serve as a cornerstone of a redesigned athletic district. Fascinating, what that could do for the university. A university that right now I think is, if I'm not mistaken, bouncing around looking for sites to play their home games. I don't know if that had all been decided in terms of where they're going to be playing their games. So Aggie tells me that North Carolina A&T money is allocated for research only. Womp, womp, womp. Well, damn. Sorry about that. I thought I read that some of that money might be able to be used for athletics. But I know A&T is getting some money from that gambling tax, though. So, I mean, North Carolina, there'll be some money coming in from that. Has Texas Southern hired a new men's basketball coach yet? The interim is the coach. I don't know if I think they're sticking with him this season. So the interim coach, I don't know if they took the tag off or they're just riding with the interim for the year. But yeah, so that was, as I kind of just browsed through some of the big stories again, the main stories again for the week, all really kind of centered around, the prelude to the SWAC media days and the CIAA media days. That's pretty much what we got. I think I'm just kind of looking here. Who is it? HBCU lands $1 million indoor facility. Oh, that's Grambling. Okay. Well, I'm sure I encourage you guys to make sure you stay abreast of everything happening related to HBCUs. If you got HBCUGameDay.com, HBCUSports.com, HBCU Legends on SI. Those are three of the sites that I usually do a good job of keeping track of. So that's where I go. And I'm sure a lot of you do as well. So want to thank you guys for your time tonight. Appreciate the chat. You guys were great as always. And I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the thumbs up and the like button. You can always donate it to my travels to Birmingham. If you want to leave anything in the Cash App, $ my JBM, my BCSN. A brother's got to get on the road sometime on Monday to get up to Birmingham. I'm debating on what kind of Turo. Any of you Turo people out there? I'm a Turo guy. I got to make sure I can get the Turo outside of the state of Florida. Sometimes there are things about that. But anyway, I'm renting a car. I'm not taking my own car. I've made that mistake before. But yeah, renting a car, heading up to Birmingham. So I'll be there and then probably going to stay over in Atlanta for a day or two and before heading back. And so I'll do that. But appreciate all you guys in the chat. Hit the thumbs up and the like button if you would for me. Please, if you're a podcast listener, our numbers have been going up on the BCSN Pod Zone. That's credit to all of you. So I thank all of you for checking out the BCSN Pod Zone, which is an aggregate of all of the shows that are on the Black College Sports Network. So if you missed any part of Carlos's show yesterday, you can pick it up on the BCSN Pod Zone, available on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, all of those places. Do me a favor, download, subscribe, rate, and review if you would. Helps the algorithm out. I don't even care if you listen. Just go download and subscribe. Be great. If you got a long ride to work or you're traveling this week, the podcast, be a good, enjoyable show for you. So, yeah. All right. Appreciate all of you guys, your comments and all of that nature. It's been a good show. And AD Drew you'll see AD Drew on Wednesday, but hopefully AD will be back on with me Sunday. If not, I'll be looking for some guests from the SIAC and the MEAC, maybe even the CIAA. Maybe I have to reach out to Dave and see if Dave's got some time. We'll talk Hampton and A&T, and we'll kind of take a look at what their season perspectives look like. But talking season begins, and it should be a fun season. So hopefully you guys enjoy all the content and the coverage. Any questions, you can always reach me on Twitter right there, DRB365. You can always tweet at us on the socials, my BCSN1. If you're watching on Instagram or X, the YouTube feed is my JBN Online. Black College Sports Network, Jericho Broadcast Networks is the home parent of our network. So that's going to do it for tonight's show. Appreciate everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you Wednesday. Live coverage from Birmingham. The SWAC Media Day will begin probably sometime around 10 o'clock Eastern. So be looking out for an announcement on our socials about when we'll go live and all of that. So that's going to do it for tonight's show, everybody. Be well, be safe. Have a great rest of your evening. I got to catch up. Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, episode 4 on the night. So that's where I'm headed to go watch. You guys be well. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Peace out.